call the meeting to order. First call, roll call.
Apatito Rose. Alta Mesa. Casanova Omo. Deer Flats. Del Monte Beach.
Thank you.
Del Monte Roberto Grande. Here. Downtown.
Here.
Fish Flats.
Here.
Glenwood. Here. Monterey Vista. Here. New Monterey. Here. Oak Grove.
Here.
Old Town. Here. Skyline Forest.
Here.
Villa Del Monte.
Here. Thank you. Roll call. Okay, so tonight, based on we have a time crunch here at the centers, we need to be out here start coming at 8:30. I'm going to have public comments. We normally have a range from 1 to 3. I'll keep it to 2 minutes. And then what we'll do, the first part now is public comments on anything not on the agenda. Everybody's welcome to speak to. Anybody? All right, move on. Go to information reports and staff comments. For the purpose of this meeting, the city received proposals in February. Each project goes through 2 public hearings. The first public hearing is more, what is the project, what's the scope? The second meeting is more, what is the public input on our projects? Everybody's going to have an opinion. It's their opinion. The only person in this room who doesn't have an opinion is me, because I'm just a facilitator. I just got to bring the facts. But everybody has an opinion. It's their opinion. It doesn't need to be debated. Everybody's eligible. You need to hear it. You need to collect all this information so I can move this stuff forward in the process. Nothing gets decided tonight. We go to mid-May for voting night. Stuff goes to council in June. When the council makes a decision, that's the final decision on any of our projects. So we do have a lot of projects. Like I said, you have 69 to go through. Not everyone will be commented on, but we need to hear. Tonight's emphasis is what's the public support, for or against, and what's your comment on our project. Hopefully they're clear enough. And there's a couple of them. Now there is a few of the projects that have changed since we met last, and I'll be highlighting those as we go through and tell you what the changes are. And then preparation project screening meeting. So now we'll go to NIP spokesman reports. Okay, Rick's not here. Sharon, we had a meeting. Did we PRC since last? Okay. So tonight's meeting, we're going to start off with Fish Flats. Now this meeting was originally scheduled for 6:30. So what I'm going to do is, even when I open up public comment, I won't close it for anybody who wants to come on these meetings. They can talk about it because originally this was scheduled for 6:30. So the public comment I won't close after we finish and go through the sequence of projects. We will start. It's easier for us to track and just go in numerical order for Fish Flats, New Monterey through Villa Del Monte. Then we'll do the city lines. Okay. So with that, we'll start off the projects. So the first one, we have Fish Flats. Fish Flats 1, works in the park there, 9,500. The scope hasn't changed. Louis agreed to put the trash can on there. Fish Flats 3, the request is to do 27 feet of a sidewalk adjacent to the curb. And what I do is I'm going to go down through this sheet, and then I'll open this up to discussion. The request is to do one sidewalk in front of one individual home. City typically does city funds. It does the sidewalk that gets it out from somewhere. So our estimate does it 470 feet to get the sidewalk infill out to be on solar. This is being contested right now. My public works director has not made a decision on it or directed me. Fish Flats 4 is the greenbelt reduction. I'm proposing to move all the greenbelt fuel reduction and the greenbelt trees into one citywide 48. We can vote on that as one big project, so that'll be moving to citywide 48. And then New Monterey is the 900 block of Lily Street widening. The cost has changed down to 180. New Monterey 2 is the Hawthorne Boulevard bicycle ramp for design. So the 84,000. New Monterey 4 is the Oak Street 500 block widening. Requested for 50% funding, and we'll probably come back next year for 50% funding. New Monterey 5, the Prescott 1740 sidewalk infill. The price changed a little bit, 64,000. New Monterey 6, the recreational water tank mural, that has not changed, it's 46. New Monterey 7 is the Canyon Road public restroom construction. I have not met with the project proponent or discussed some of the comments we had last time about his grading out since the design is not done, so I need to follow up with that. In New Monterey, Schultz Park walkway, 80 accessible outdoor fitness area. This project scope has changed. It's just the walkways and outdoor fitness area, which will be out here. And I was able to obtain $54,260,000 of CDBG funds. So for $198,000 project, we get $143,000. CDBG council approved it for this project for the walkway. That's going up to the HUD. We'll probably hear back in June. The New Monterey 9s, David Spencer curb extensions. It's not a Measure S street for ramp. That's just for design of $46,000. So with that, I'll open it, let's talk about this first page of our project.
Yes. For the Fisherman's Flats Park improvements, I just want to confirm, what does the $9,500 pay for?
I think it's replacing the extra large trees we have up in there. And, we're supposed to take the dog receptacles off, so I'll be cutting that price down before voting night. I didn't take the cost for the mid stations, that's going to go to citywide. So I'll have to adjust that price.
All right.
It'll be planting 2 large trees, so it moves that new trash can.
Okay.
Which I'll get revised.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this first round of our projects? Okay. With that, I'd like to open this up to the public for public comment and support of the project. Let's start off, anybody here for Fish Flats 1? How about Fish Flats 3, Marcellus Circle?
I remeasured it, Jeff, 27.5.
27.5?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody here for Fish Flats 4 Greenbelt fuel reduction, which I'll move to a city lot? And then, okay, anybody here for New Monterey 1, the 900 block of Lily widening? And how about New Monterey 2, the Hawthorne Mobile bicycle ramp? Please come up to the podium. If you can kind of line up if you want. Run it through, like I said, everybody gets 2 minutes, and who's going to time it? Who's the bad guy?
Hi, I'm Ellen McEwen, I'm the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation. And just to briefly clarify, I'm one of 6 commissioners who are appointed by the mayor. These are volunteer positions. We have no budget. We are an advisory panel that seeks to protect our parks, make them optimal for our community. We recently completed the new master plan, which also looks to the future. So we want to make sure that our parks are in conformity with this master plan for current residents and looking towards the future with those changes in mind. And the Hawthorne Rodeo bicycle ramp is something we are very much in favor of. One of our #1 projects is to try and make the rec trail more safe between Fisherman's Wharf and the Coast Guard Pier where it's heavily trafficked. There was the $6 million project, which of course we were unfortunately unable to fund to really do a real physical widening. So our fallback plan is to try and actually find a safe way for the cyclists to have an alternate to the rec trail, because the speed differential between pedestrians and bicycles is the thing that really causes a lot of accidents. And the cyclists can't currently use the tunnel, so they're forced onto that path. So this is a real critical portion of getting that to happen so that we can fulfill our mission to make the rec trail safer for everyone. Thank you. 2 minutes?
2 minutes?
You're right.
Good evening. The homeowners of the 100 block of Hawthorne, 6 of them do not want this project to move forward. They have spoken very loudly, very clearly, that this project is unsafe. There's very serious concerns they have in reference to this, the noise, the safety, the liability, the calmness of this neighborhood is being greatly jeopardized by this project. I spoke to the, give me 2 minutes, you messed me up, Jeff. I spoke to the security guard of the private Bolio Visitor Center about this project. They have concerns about the extra traffic this project would have in the neighborhood. This project is something that is creating a lot of animosity and a lot of stress in the neighborhoods between the city and some of the commissioners here, and we want this project stopped. It's unsafe, there's liability concerns. The bicyclists coming through here, they don't go slow. Let's not pretend that this is gonna be, 1950s. It's not. They're gonna come through here in a way that's gonna create serious concerns. Privacy issues are being addressed that aren't being addressed here. You have a house that is on the corner there, few feet from this project. It's not okay. It's not okay. The homeowners and some of the people that live on the property have expressed serious concerns about the safety and security of their neighborhood. We want it made very clearly, because we're not sure some of the people in this room are hearing us enough. Thank you.
Next. And you just state your name, that's all.
My name is Mary Israel. I'm a planner in the area. I'm also a bicyclist. I use my bicycle to commute. And I live in New Monterey. So I guess that makes me one of those scary elements that's riding down Hawthorne pretty soon. As a bicyclist,
You just keep it to the facts and not start that.
here's my facts. I commute on that route almost every day. What I have to do is drop down onto Lake House, jump into traffic because at rush hour, when I'm on my way to work, there's usually a line of cars waiting to turn up into Bolio. So I have to hop out into traffic in front of buses, in front of stuff, and then scoot around, come back over into the traffic to get on the crosswalk, to get over to Lower Presidio to cross over. The reason I take this route is not that I'm in a screaming rush, but I am a commuter, and it makes more sense for me to cut across there, to get over into town, either to get to the MST Plaza and get on an express bus, or to continue my ride. So it doesn't make sense for me to drop over to the rec trail, much like the first commenter was saying. And so as a bicyclist, I just want to say we don't increase noise. We're usually quite quiet, and we obey the laws. We just want to be able to have a safe access road to Lower Presidio. Thank you.
Thank you.
I won't be long. My name is Chuck Hurd, and I am husband of one of the property owners right there where Hawthorne Street dead ends up against Presidio. My issue is we were informed at the last meeting that the total project cost was going to be approximately $500,000.
Yes.
To me, that is a lot of money for something that serves a very limited population, and the fact that less than 200 meters away down the hill is a world-class bike path that can be used by that population. So I just don't see this as a good way to spend $500,000 given the proximity of the bike path that we already have.
My name is Teresa Garcia. I'm the landlord of the property at 161 Hawthorne and 171 Hawthorne. I've lived there all my life. We talk about the bikers, we talk about, and I mean, God bless them. They can get on the bike and go. I think that's fantastic. I live at the dead end of, I have another parcel at the dead end of 170 Lane Street. I have a multitude of bikers that come down my driveway and they take the shortcut, realizing that it's not a through street, and having to turn at the end of my driveway. And I have had young men. I cringe the end of May through the beginning of September because I have young people that come down on their skateboards. My driveway is steep. They come down lickety split very fast. There's curves. I cringe every time because, God forbid, if any of them hurt themselves, then I have a liability. And it scares me. My insurance would go up. I worry about their safety, but I worry about any accident on my property. We have been a bedroom community for years. I don't see this bike path being open to really help a lot. When we have, $500,000, 2 blocks down could do wonders, not through the Presidio. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Patrick Diamond. I'm a resident at the end of Author and 131. As far as the safety issue is concerned, and I heard the young lady speak about the safety of having to get out of traffic. I drive up and down Hawthorne every day on the way to work, on the way back from work. And if you've ever driven down Hawthorne Street, you notice that all of the cars parked along the side of the streets actually turn their mirrors flat against their car because there's very little space for 2 automobiles to pass driving down that road. I think making that or increasing the traffic by adding bikes into that very limited amount of space is sincerely a safety issue. And where are they going to go? They're going to go on the sidewalk? I don't think that that is the place where bicycle traffic should be rerouted to. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Abby Osterhart. I also live on the block. Thank you for hearing this today. Last I heard, the landlords were about 50-50 split, and the renters were almost all in favor of having this. I have a desk that watches the street, and so I see it day to day. And there is some traffic on it, although the main concern, if we want to talk about noise, is actually that cars go down there and they constantly turn around and they straight and they make noise. There are several design feature things that we can do that would, A, potentially help people's driveways, because I hear that is a concern, but this is not about somebody's driveway. It could also help slow bikes as they go in. That's a design feature of how you build this. And signage to help people know what the street is for. When it comes to Monterey, this is a critical piece of our bike infrastructure. There's no other way for people to get from New Monterey and Pacific Grove under the Presidio over except for the coastal bike path, which is great, but it's so congested that a lot of people don't use it. And right now, there's no other way, and so people are driving, adding to the congestion, which is a huge problem on Monterey, instead of biking or walking to work. So this would open up that transportation corridor. So it's not just about our block, although I think it is an amenity for the block and have access to that green space. It's about having access both for New Monterey and Pacific Grove. Thank you.
I was attending a city council meeting on April 16th, and this is on a related topic, but the conversation spent a good deal of the time between the city council members and the public and so forth about the problem, the biggest problem with the rec trail, and that is the bottleneck between, and I'm almost quoting them, the bottleneck between Fisherman's Wharf 1 and the tennis courts. This was a plan long in happening where the city was going to deal with this problem, which is, you call it Recreation Trail 2. It's the other side of Pacific Street. The land, the property's been made available and so forth. It is in the general plan, as far as I know, and it is approved by, so far, it's approved so far by Nancy and by the city of Monterey, and this thing's going to happen. Now, this part of it is for a design, a study, and that hopefully will mitigate the problem, the concerns that those few neighbors have, or actually the property owners. From everything I can see from the van tour, understand from the van tour, the only people speaking against it for the most part are the property owners, who are landlords, and the residents seem to be largely in favor of this. But again, this is about a study, funding for a study to hopefully mitigate any issues and move from there. Thank you.
My name is Mark Askew. My sister and I own 131 and 151 Hawthorne Street. I have signatures of way more than 50% of the landlords who are against this particular project. There are driveways on the opposite side of mine where I live that empty onto Hawthorne Street. People coming up those driveways don't have vision in both ways like you would hope. So people coming down Hawthorne Street on bicycles will have to contend with neighbors, occupants, homeowners trying to exit their driveway and go to work, which is a hazard. 100 Hawthorne is probably going to be the most impacted property in that the bike trail would start from basically their front yard into the wall 10 feet and up and down private Bolio Road. This would also impact access to and from Hawthorne Street by people who could, and this is just a theory, come in from private Bolio Road, take advantage of the homes that are along the 100 block and exit that way and make it very difficult for law enforcement to get chased. Again, every property owner that I have contacted is against it. And I've only been able to get all of them. There's only one property at 180 and 160 that have not signed because I can't find her. So we would really like to just not have this project in our neighborhood. And that's all I have to say.
Appreciate it.
I'm Alina Hurd, and I'm Mark's sister, and I co-own with him 131 and 151 Hawthorne. And I've heard from these really nice people that the majority of the folks on the street agree with this, they want this project. I would like to get a more informed count of who is in favor of this and who's pushing this project. We haven't heard anything from the city about who wants it or who doesn't want it, who's pushing this project. I would like to have a little bit more information about who's for it and probably their addresses too, because if they don't live on the street, they really don't have an oar in the outcome of safety for the people who live on that street.
Anybody else have a comment for new Monterey too?
Hello, I'm Marietta Appleberg, and I am 100 Hawthorne Street. 6 out of 8 tenants are against this plan. Let me refresh the bylaws of the NIP Association, number 3. The purpose of this association is primarily to preserve and enhance the quality of life and residential quality of our neighborhood. It is not to disrupt, destroy, mutilate, or dictate our neighborhood. This will bring beyond tangible detriment such as construction noise, parking limitations, blight during constructions, and a misappropriation of funds for a small sublet of the population to enjoy bike rides. It also appears that there will be a strong correlation between this project and apparent tort of diminished property value and the loss of both short and long-term rents. All of my tenants, and tenants as we know, come and go. All of them do not want it. The one that does, he's moving out May 21st. All female prospects ask me 3 things. How is this a safe area? How much crime is this area? Is it quiet? This opening of this path is 1 foot from the front of my curb, 10 feet from the ramp to my first set of stairs, 17 feet from my single female tenant. And in the back, 4 feet from my tenant's bedroom to a wall. Walking down this path with dogs will cause feces and urine to smell all over my property. There,
Thank you.
I am against it.
Thank you very much. You can give it 10 seconds more than that. No?
I'll raise my hand when it's 10 seconds.
Hi, I'm Diana Yellow, and my mom has the property on the corner of Hawthorne and Freestyle. And we have 7 tenants, and none of our tenants are for this. My mom, who has had the property for many years, probably 50 years, is not for it. So just want to let you know, no, please.
Anybody else have a comment from you on Monterey 2?
Hi, I'm Leslie Peterson from Pacific Road. I'm a bicyclist. I just want to say I would really appreciate a new way to get from Pacific Road through New Monterey to Monterey rather than having to cross over and go to get downtown. This strikes me as a much safer way to go. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, with that, stop public comment. And now we'll go to New Monterey 4, Oak Street, 500 block line. Is anybody here that can talk about that? And if you are, you're welcome to sit here for the entire meeting, but we'll come back to this or you can fix it now. We can listen to
You're not going to come back to this?
What's that?
Did you say you're not coming back to this?
It's already 6:30, the time we told everybody that we would be having, what's that?
6.
Oh, it's only 6. I will come back to this at 6:30, because it was publicized back then, if everybody wants to come welcome to stay.
So what are next steps?
Well, right now, we're just hearing public comment and public input on the projects. The next step will be voting night on May 15th, and this will go to council in June.
Okay, thank you.
And then, so we have anybody here that want to talk about New Monterey 5, the 1740 precedents. New Monterey 6, the Wreck Trail Water Tank Mural. New Monterey 7, Canada. Oh, excuse me.
Hi, Elevation on Parks and Recreation. In the last discussion of the water tank, there was some concern over who actually owned the water tank.
It's private property.
Okay. And is the person who owns it agreeable to it?
We have to contact them. We don't know exactly who the exact owner is because it's in litigation. So until next week.
With that in mind, then we do not support this. Thank you.
All right, level of flags. New Monterey 7, Canada Public Restroom Construction. Like I say, I have to talk to the applicants so their comments with John Colton on design yet. New Monterey Schultz Park Walkway and ADA accessible walkway fitness. Anybody here want to talk about that?
We were very much in support of that. This has been a long time coming, and this is already partially funded, so we lend our support to this. Thank you. Which project?
New Monterey Schultz Park Walkway and ADA accessible outdoor fitness area. And I would obtain $54,000 CDBG funding. New Monterey 9, David Spencer curb extension for design. They say it's done better. People here to talk about New Monterey 9. Okay. Like I said, I will come back to any public comment after 6:30 at the time this meeting was originally set. But because we had 69, we started an hour later. So the next set of projects, the Skyline Forest 1, Skyline Drive, Johnson Medium, it hasn't changed. Skyline Forest 2, the K-Rail cleaning, that has not changed. Skyline Forest 3, the name is Highway 168, they have bike path upgrade, it's just a patch repair, not rebuilding the entire project. Skyline Forest 4 is the greenbelt. We moved this to all green belts, the CW 47, and as you'll see, even though all green belts and tree removal will be on one project, at voting night, each has its individual funding for each individual area. Sky Forest 5 is greenbelt fuel reduction, same thing, moved to the greenbelt work. Skyline Ridge, Dry Creek Sewer Fire Access Road, I have not heard back from the homeowner association, but I think Fire is here, he may talk about this for me. I've asked them what their preference would be. And then Bill Del Monte 1, this was one City Parks cutoff project for the synthetic volleyball court. Bill Del Monte 2, that hasn't changed. Ramona Avenue traffic calming, radar speed signs for Ramona, it hasn't changed. Bill Del Monte 3, Ramona highway screening, plant trees at the end of Ramona Street. The trees have been removed. The screen view from the highway. Bill Del Monte 4, Del Road the street lights, that has not changed. Bill Del Monte 5 has changed. I've changed the, I was unable to get in front of council about if it's going a one-way street. So it's been changed to expand current playground area utilizing existing park or adjacent street right-of-way. And I talked to the proponent, and it is a large project, about $480,000. She's going to request 50% funding this go-around. And I do not need, we'll see how the project goes in this design. The Bill Del 96 is one sewer park improvements phase 4. This one I was able to obtain 50% funding by CDBG. This will do the phase 4, do the bollard lighting, the turf amendments, and do turf improvements at the volleyball court. But at the price of $160,000, I didn't have the cost for synthetic, but we'll do the planned upgrades we have. With that, take up questions on any of these. Sharon.
Okay, for the Skyline Ridge 1, Dry Creek Sewer and Fire Access Road, there were 2 different routes. I see that you used the money from the lower side. Is there a reason why you're not taking it from Dry Creek?
I want to hear back from the fire department and the homeowner association. And so when I changed the price, when I hear public comment tonight, we'll see what this goes forward. I haven't heard back from them.
I just don't see why we can't be going with the lesser expensive one. We always go for the highest price, and we're going down to going up. Dry Creek's a real easy access, it seems to me. Anyway, okay. And let's see, the other one. For the Ferrari Park, the city council did not take any action on the one-way street?
They will not, here, they got both. City manager one.
Okay.
They will not see it first.
So we're going ahead, assuming that someday the city council says yes?
Well, I can expand the park and still keep the road two-way. It just won't be as big of an expandable play area in the street. Maybe I need to go off to the right of it. We still can expand the park and the play area. The original intent was to take the whole lane and have the one lane go, or I could keep a 2-lane street 24 feet. Just the park play could will be shortened out. And I'll go through the design process.
And with that, it's still $480,000?
Yes. Even though it's reduced, it's not, I'm not going to cut the cost down just because I saved 8 feet of dry on the street project.
But a lot of that money was also the ADA curb stuff at the other end of the block, right?
True.
So if we're doing it without changing the direction of the roadway, do we have to do the ADA at the other end?
I do not.
So wouldn't that reduce the price?
It could. I'll talk to the proponent. Right now, the price is in for the full project for the one-way street.
But we can't do the one-way.
No, the council will see it. The council will see it if we have a funded project. They don't want to see it without.
I'm going to say to the committee, we're back to the point, and it's a point that I make over and over again. We do not make policy. The general plan at this time says it's a two-way street. The city council has not told us otherwise. We should not be approving funding for a project that goes contrary to the general plan.
Okay.
So we should get an adjusted cost estimate for something that does follow the general plan. It seems to me.
All right. Any other comments on these? With that, I'll open up to the public. So we'll start with Skyline Forest 1. Anybody here want to talk to Chatswood? No?
Let's see, this Skyline Forest 1 is the little island in the Skyline Forest area. And we believe the island is appropriate because it does slow down traffic and it creates a more gracious entrance into Veterans Park. We are concerned that if it were removed or modified, people would go through more quickly, so we do not support this plan. Thank you.
Anybody else for Skyline Forest? Skyline Forest 2, any comments on that? Skyline Forest 3, Highway 68, Rail Bike Path. Skyline Forest 4 and 5, greenbelt fuel reduction or tree removal.
I hate to take your time, but we are very much in support of the Skyline Forest bike path. It's actually the one near Highway 1. It's frequented by a lot of pedestrians. It's a very safe way to get from the Skyline Forest area into more of the downtown area. And it's very rooted up right now. Thank you.
Slow me down if you're too fast. And then for Skyline Ridge, Dry Creek Sewer Fire Access Road. And then Bill Del Monte 1, Montecito Park, Synthetic Ballpark Park. Bill Del Monte 2, Remote Avenue Traffic Calming, speed radar signs and whatnot. Bill Del Monte 3, Remote Avenue Highway Screening. Bill Del Monte 4, no roadless Avenue streetlights. Check.
I just have a question. How many lights are we talking about and where are they?
It's 2 lights here.
I think we have 2 lights. Two lights, and it's, they're about mid-block. One's at the intersection of the street that goes to the middle of the blocks. There's a little like alley street that goes between these properties. One's about there, and one's mid-block between that and the light that goes by the park.
How far away are they? How far separated?
Offhand, I mean, roughly, I can get back exactly. It looks like it'd be about 150 feet, just a couple hundred feet. I'm just looking at it now.
Richard,
Richard.
Yeah, you're asking questions from us. I noticed you've rolled the fuel reduction projects into CW 47.
48.
Why isn't the Skyline one in that?
It is, both of them. Skyline Forest 4 is the greenbelt tree removal. The Skyline Forest 5
Those
is
projects are gone now and they're rolled into 47.
48. Oh, 47, yeah, 47, yes. 47.
All right, I get it.
Okay.
With the street lights, are they on the house side or are they on the highway side?
Currently, we have them designed on the highway side.
And isn't that more expensive?
No, because there's not curb gutter, there's not concrete sidewalk. We can get in, we can go right behind the curb for trenching. The other side has
You were told
sidewalk.
before that it was more expensive to put it on the other side of the street.
I can confirm and show you
Because the
that.
power is not on the highway side, you have to bring it over.
Yeah, there's a trench across the street, but we're not trenching down the concrete sidewalk.
Understand,
Anybody in the public want to talk about BDM 4? Okay. BDM 5, Bradley Park Playground Expansion. And BDM 6, Montecito Park Approved Stage 4.
Ellen McKeon, Parks and Rec. The transformation that has occurred at Montecito Park has just been wonderful. We're very much in favor. It is a priority item for us that this can be completed, and it sounds like we have some funding already. So we put our encouragement behind this one. Thank you.
Oh, I misspelled that one. This one does, this 50% funding is requested. This one does not have CDBG funds.
It doesn't.
The applicant just cut the price down in half to start it, and next year we'll come back for the other funding for the project.
Still a good project.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. With that, we're going to jump to city limits. So I'm going to pull another one. Okay. Minimize this one. Is this one? All right. So, we started out with, what's that? So citywide one, Ryan Ranch storage lot, that price reduced, was $40,000, put security cameras up the county lot. Citywide two, Argudo Road, sidewalk, and the curb and gutter has not changed. Citywide three, the multi-mineral signage, the estimate, Kurt asked me is for 7 signs, we don't actually where it will be, he just asked for it to be in 3 areas, along the, in downtown, the harbor, and the rec trail. So we just get the estimate without knowing exactly how many signs until I go through the process and through the boards and commissions. Citywide 4, window and bay dunes, fence and sign repair has not changed. Citywide 5, citywide dog amenities, mutt pits and fountains, and the price has been reduced down to $25,000, and Lou will do what he can do with that amount of money. The mutt pits and changing fountains out. Citywide 6, also the low park lighting hasn't changed. Citywide 7, there's train equipment hasn't changed. Lou and I are supposed to talk about that now. Reduce the price. Citywide 8, just changed to bike repair stations. We talked to the applicant who'd like to have one. Where the bikes are, which would be the rec trail or maybe the new bike trail on the North Fremont. I was able to partial funding with TAMSI. They'll actually provide the station. So what this does is provides the pad, the anchoring, the placement when you place it for bike repair stations. This price changed from 15 to 10. The citywide aquatic center feasibility study, school district question has not changed. Still 1/4 the cost. Rec trail bottle refill stations. This is change out the fountains we have to a water refill station. That's $15,000. That price changed a bit. The sports center, kids zone, window cleaning hasn't changed. Sports center, water slide hasn't changed. Library parking lot, street light hasn't changed. Historic Monterey gateways has changed. The applicant wanted me to add screens in the kiosk area, so we added solar screens to it, so the price went up to $210. And this is just to do full five monument signs or kiosks, whatever we're going to come up with will be a design process. And citywide 15 is Colton Hall repointing phase 2 hasn't changed. And citywide 16, 380 Alvaro Path, that hasn't changed. Any questions on the citywide 1 through citywide 16? Anybody in the public like to comment on citywide 1? If anybody else, if you could maybe stand up in the back and queue up, that'd be great. Oh, please, sir.
Hi, Ron Barnes, and I have had an RV in that storage lot now for better than 20 years. I've been doing it for RVs over a period of time. And there has been serious damage done to RVs up to numerous times. Thousands of dollars of damage. There's some very expensive coaches being stored in there. We have talked with numerous other residents, if you will, other owners of coaches in there, and they're very supportive. That's why we pushed this through council, as you folks know already, that we did get some fencing done to try and make a lot of us get that done. Anyway, the big thing is it's a dead hole. Okay, since they've taken the gas pumps out of Ryan Ranch, you know, it used to be that police went up there, Del Rio's went up there to fuel up, Monterey TV went up there to fuel up, C&G, all that's now gone. So it's truly a dead hole. There's no one goes up there at night at all anymore. So there's no security whatsoever. Yes, it is fenced, but we've experienced numerous times thefts. Fences won't stop people, they just slow them down. And again, we've had many thefts. So at this point, we talked about this earlier on, about putting a monitor camera systems in, and that's what we'd like to see happen. I know that the police station, I volunteer for Monterey PD, and I know that they monitor several places in the city. And I think that it would be applicable to have this done. I mean, they have a monitor in the station that has, I think, 15 channels all over down on this monitor, so it would just be one of many. Anyway, I would like to see this continue on with getting security cameras in there, because of the fact that there's just no movement up there anymore. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Anybody else on citywide question? Go to citywide 2, any public comment on that? Citywide 3, interlingual English language?
Colton County Parks and Recreation, we had some concerns about what was actually intended by citywide 3. We didn't know how much information and what languages. So many people use their phone to gather information, and we don't want to clutter up our beautiful downtown with cumbersome signs when the information can probably be transmitted in another way. So Parks and Rec is not supporting citywide 3. Thanks.
Anybody else have a comment on citywide 3? Thank you. Citywide 4, window to bay, dunes, fencing, and signage repair. Citywide 5, citywide dog amenities.
We support this, yes. We do, yes, very much so. We want to encourage people to be respectful of everyone's hygiene when they have their dog.
Citywide 6, also ballpark lighting. Anybody have a comment on that?
I hate to wear out your ears, but we are very much in favor of this project. The halogen lights will be appropriate, and being able to use Solicitor Ballpark in the evening time will expand its uses greatly. We need more ballparks so people, young kids and adults, can get out and enjoy our parks. Thank you.
Kurt?
That's the high school plays ball there? The school district support funding part of that?
We can always ask. They contributed over $500,000. Yeah. Sorry, not now. We can always ask. All right. Citywide 8, bike repair stations. Oh, Dennis Train. That's right.
As you know, the Element County Parks and Rec, as you know, the loss of the food train was a real blow to many people's lives. It has created a lot of memories for many people living in Monterey, but it just was deemed not safe by the city attorney. It's been an extremely difficult thing to replace, but Louis came up with this fabulous idea. We are so much in favor of it. It's our #1 priority as Parks and Rec. We want to move past the sad time at Dennis the Menace and move forward with safety and fun. Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment on CW7? CW8, bike repair stations.
Supported.
CW9, citywide aquatic center feasibility study.
We have a few concerns. We want to make sure that that there's a memorandum of understanding that if there is a joint partnership between the schools and the city, that it's not just for students, that our residents can enjoy this as well. If NIP puts $40,000 towards this, we want to make sure that our residents can use it and that is clear from the beginning. I think there's plenty of negotiation that needs to be done on this. This is a study of feasibility, and that's fine, but as long as it's clear that this will benefit both students and our residents.
It's in your park master plan, isn't it, Bill?
Yes, it is.
Hold on. John Hill?
I wore my competing never gets old t-shirt, which was slag from when I competed in master swimming. I did get a second place and a third place, if you got those. I was in the water less than 5 minutes for timed events and 2 hours back and forth driving to Palo Alto through traffic to compete. And the fact is that in addition to the school programs, which are seriously hampered by the poor, limited quality pools they have currently, there's another 250, 300 kids who are very active swimmers right now, who are so active, they're being invited to compete nationally. And so there's a very hardcore group of people, but the notion is that what I experience is what everybody experiences. It's a very chilling effect that all of the competition that's available to children and adults is in San Jose beyond. And so the notion here is we create something new. I'm on the board, I would stipulate that part of doing this would be to ensure that it was a community pool, that it was more than a school pool. If something like this doesn't happen, I can also predict that, and thank you for the bond, new pools will be built at the high school, and they'll work like all the other high school facilities do, which is primarily school and occasionally community. And so this is an effort to get ahead of that and say, let's build it for the community and let the schools play along. Thank you. I do have some people who may be attending later. I gave them the 6:30 time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just want to mention, we've got 3 extra chairs nobody's using. If we can get them to the back of the room, we've got an empty chair in between 2 neighborhood representatives over there. There's an empty one there. Let's put people in the chairs and make them comfortable.
Thank you, Lee. Citywide 10, water refill stations. Can you comment on that?
Parks and Recreation is very much in favor of good hydration. This is a good way to keep our city as green as possible and keep people from getting kidney stones from dehydration. Thank
you. Richard.
I want to make sure everybody understands is to refill bottles, have a water fountain, and have a dog bowl on the ground. So
Yeah.
the dogs don't drink out of our side.
All right. Okay, citywide 11, Sports Center Kids Zone Window Tinting. This is the windows Kids Zone. Any public comment? Citywide 12, Sports Center Water Slide.
The water slide is a fabulous addition to the sports center. It's used by kids and adults. I've never been down it. It's very fun, but it is rather old. And if you look closely, it has been very, very carefully repaired a many number of times. We would love to be able to have a fabulous, maybe 2-tube, 3-tube slide as just an enhancement for family fun. So Parks and Recreation very much supports this measure. Thank you.
This in your top 8, Brian?
I think it was, yeah.
Any other? Okay, so on top of citywide 12. Citywide 13, the library parking lot street light. Citywide 14, historic Monterey gateways. And citywide 15, Colton Hall reporting, phase 2. And citywide 16, 3 all-around passenger district net zero on Osceola building. Sure.
I want to come back to citywide 14 is long enough to say, what is the unit cost that you're using for the gateways? I mean, I'm doing the math and figuring it's somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000 a piece.
They're 42 because we added in the LED screens. I spent about 30 for that entry sign at Artillery and Pacific for the Presidio. Between me and Old Monterey Foundation, it was over 30 for that one monument sign going in with rock. So our estimate fell 42. We've added the LED screens, put solar screens on. It's going to give a service cost of that. 14.
Just wondering if there isn't a way to have a stationary object that announces that it is the entrance to something historic at a far lesser price. I mean, I'm thinking of the bell that we've all known for the El Camino Real.
Yeah.
Some recognizable symbol that says historic. that wouldn't cost $42,000.
That is true, but right now I'm just working with the applicant's request, what she wants with these signs.
Well, I looked at the two pictures, I didn't see where you get $42,000 a piece for those.
Okay.
The LED part of it,
The gold plate.
She wants, yeah, she wants a kiosk in, she wants a, well, I can talk to the applicant, if she wants to tone it down. We can match
I
into it.
spent hours with her, because she wasn't asking for gold plated. She wasn't.
Any other public comment on these, citywide 1 through 16? All right, thank you. Citywide 17, accessible beach mats. We've included the description. You'll see what came out here. We handed this out too. What's in red's changed when we sent out the agenda last week. So it's accessible beach mats, both the Monterey Wharf 2 beach and Del Monte Beach. Provide accessible maps in there. Citywide 18, Sports Center Parklet. It hasn't changed, still 115. There's no playground equipment, it's just seating area and then a canopy area. Citywide 19A. The citywide 19 is changed to an A and B. Rec trail safety improvements to segregate the rec trail to designated bike lanes and pedestrian lane. The rec trail B is working with widening, DG widening. We think we can easily do it, not easily, but the easy parts have been done, but we can do probably another 400 feet without getting into major retaining walls and handrails. Do widen some of the DG path. Park and Rec meeting did request, said the DG would look at more of a hardened surface and less maintenance. I have not talked to the applicant yet to get that clarified. But DG costs more than concrete, so I kept the price there and decomposed that. Citywide 20, Shoreline Park, Court Flex Surfacing, request last time, how long does it last? We can get a 7 to 10 year warranty. 7 years is typical standard. Why go 10 years, about 15% more material cost. So I have my price in for the 10-year warranty. Citywide 21,
the sanding is out of the question there that you were talking about?
no, this doesn't get funded, it'll go to maintenance, what they want to do.
Grind it.
Yeah, they can grind or sand whatever they want to do to get it done.
So that would be viewed not as an NIP.
It's not, it's a maintenance project, yes. That's
So
right.
one part's too smooth there, we can grind it.
Well, yeah. I mean, are we all hearing that there is an alternative?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, if this doesn't go through, it'll go back to me and say, what do you want to do?
Yeah, but you're only getting 7 to 8 years out of this 145,000.
Yes, sir.
That's my.
That new question last time. And that's part bike path. When this is on the van tour, people looked at it and said, well, if it did follow the roadway, it'll have about 30 pine trees and 3 oaks, but I could actually widen the roadway for a bike lane, which would also have out in a wider roadway. The cost estimate's about the same whether we go up through the park or if we go along the roadway. So, and we ran the numbers. So we have the capital plans. That has to go for a hardship for the due to the terrain and stuff to go beyond California building code requirements. So that's what I do. And citywide 22, the youth center play equipment did change. Citywide 24, Elstone Park course upgrade hasn't changed. Citywide 25, Fremont Corridor single adaptation, partial funding go towards that didn't change. That's Park West parking lot renovations, still 52,000. Citywide 27 is the citywide restroom study. This did change to just a study, $30,000 to go through the process of where do we want public restrooms, how do we want to maintain them, what hours of operation. This would be to get this stuff in front of council and get a policy on citywide restrooms citywide. Citywide 28, that's ballpark half court, that's 54,000 has changed. Citywide 30s, Monterey history milestones, plaque extension, that hasn't changed. Citywide 31 is the conduit insulation project, still at 250,000, that hasn't changed. Citywide 32 is downtown Port Louis. The applicant specifically requested, I want one Port Louis, I want it downtown and no money to a study. So I put the price in for one Port Louis. The citywide 33, the best part, greenbelt fuel reduction. This is moved into citywide 47, one project with all the greenbelt fuel reduction. Any comments or questions on these? Richard?
Yeah, if I could get everybody's attention, on the restroom downtown. I started to do the math. We passed the volleyball court restroom, it was approved by the council. We passed last year the Monterey Beach restroom, approved by the council. There hasn't been a meeting on either, and a whole year's gone by. And now I can understand the applicant. I talked to him about waiting to pass this study, and we got another year. Then he comes back next year and gets the construction money, and then he doesn't get it built to the third year. And we're at the Middle Ages where humans are throwing their waste out in the street. We're back to those days. I'm totally in favor of a 24-hour restroom, and if that's what it takes, maybe the applicant needs to put a restriction to get this thing installed so people stop going to the ground. And it is a public health crisis. It's all over our town, and we're just ignoring it. And we keep passing these things, and somehow they get solved, yeah? I mean, the volleyball one is 10 years now, and now the Delmont Beach one is 1 year we haven't had a meeting yet. And these are pre-manufactured ones that just flop. I mean, how easy can we get? So I think this has just been glossed over, and it needs to be focused on as a public health crisis.
The other point of view, Richard, is that what we really need is for the city council to agendize it and decide what of the restrooms they have. Will they leave open for 24 hours?
Yeah.
Now, we
what's that got to
provided
do with
them,
this one?
well, by throwing another $250,000 at it, until the city council decides that it's okay to leave a restroom open 24 hours, it doesn't matter how many we have.
Well, the one you're proposing, and it's under for construction, that is no guarantee it'll be open 24 hours. But you have it down here for construction, so I don't see the difference.
Well, and I did take out of his description, open 24 hours, because that's a program how the city maintains and does the equipment. NIP is just going to build it, and that's what the city council needs to come.
Either on the ground or in an open restroom, there's your choice.
Well, and I think that's why it's important for us to note there's two bathroom philosophies here. There's 32 that says put another one in. And then there's 27 that says we've already got 47 bathrooms on site and running right now. And none of them are open, and any of them could be open tomorrow. So if we have this need and this public health issue, it could be open tomorrow if we can get that bridge across.
My point is, those will never be open 24 hours because they're impossible to maintain, and they're impossible to keep crime out of because of the way they're designed. So only the ones that are new, that are designed that way, that can be maintained cheaply, because they're all stainless steel, and they're pressure washers on board, those are the only ones that are going to go 24 hours. It's just fact. It's just not going to change.
You do have ones downtown that are unbuilt that are this modern design. So if we got that one open 24 hours, that could meet both needs. And again, it just needs this breaking and crossing of that bridge. So maybe we need both, but they're doing two different things, these two projects are.
I'm not in favor of waiting 3 years for any solution.
So bring it back, comment on, what did I stop at? We have all, right? We got a comment? Okay. All right. So now it is 6:30. This was the original scheduled time for any of the projects that we have talked about. So is there anybody here that talks about any of the projects like Fish Flats 1, Fish Flats 3, or the Marcella? Fish Flats 1 was Fish Flats Park improvements. Fish Flats 3 was Marcella sidewalk. Fish Flats 4 is Fisherman's Belt. Fisherman's Flats Greenbelt fuel reduction. New Monterey 1, 900 block is southwest of David Avenue Whiting. New Monterey 2 is the Hawthorne Memorial Bicycle Ramp.
I just want to say that obviously the owners don't want this project, the majority of the renters don't want it, and we need to find another way. I would side with the homeowners and the property owners and the renters there.
New Monterey 2. New Monterey 4, 500 block
I
wide.
have a question.
Okay,
I didn't know my 2 minutes. What's the definition of living nearby me? A house, a block, a mile. We heard 14 tenants, residents there, didn't want that. It's not a majority. I'm questioning and asking how this is
You can't speak to this again. It's your question.
Okay, oh, well, we'll go to the city council.
Yeah, that's good.
They got, if not, we'll go for it. Thank you.
And we have New Monterey 4, 500 block widening. Please.
Donna Gibson, resident on the our real concern there is human safety and health issues. If you look at that particular street, there are cars parked on both sides. It doesn't even allow easy access for garbage trucks, much less a fire truck or emergency vehicle. Right now, when I measure the range, it's usually about 8 feet. That allows one car to pass. It's basically one-way traffic with cars parked on both sides. We already have one incident of responders not being able to come to the house because they couldn't reach it. They had to basically park a block away and run to the house. If you think about it, a cardiac arrest only allows you about 15 minutes to get somebody started. And so there's no way to really do it. We share the street with Oak Newton Park, or about half the way. Basically, right now, you can only walk on one of the sidewalks. There's no sidewalk on one side. We've got children with a very high occupancy rate, and that particular apartment. Basically, it's unsafe. For most of the people that live in the only other thing I have is personal property damage.
Quiet down, please.
We basically had cars damaged because of the narrow width in which cars are going across. So basically, people park on the sidewalk, they've gotten tickets because they're not supposed to park on the sidewalk. That's the only way to allow enough access for one car to get through. That's basically all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
New Monterey.
This is all New Monterey 4, 500 block.
Yeah, I live on the 500 block. I just want to emphasize some of the medical issues. The number one leading cause of death in the United States is sudden cardiac arrest. 358,000 people in 2018. Mortality rate was 90%. 68% of the time it occurs in someone's home. And the incidence goes up with age. So by 55, it's basically 1,000 per 100 per 100,000. And by the age of 80, it's over 1,000 per 100,000. So they get about 1 to 100. Many of the people living on that street are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and the gentleman across the street is 90. So you get an incidence where you've got a sudden cardiac arrest and an emergency vehicle has to park a block away, which is what's happened previously. If that had been a sudden cardiac arrest, that person's going to live. Because you have to get a defibrillator on that person within about 17 minutes. Otherwise, they're not going to make it. So I think the safety issue is really paramount, and getting the street widened so we can get emergency vehicles in and out of there if necessary.
Thank you. Anybody else from New Monterey 4? We have New Monterey 5, Prescott, 600 block sidewalk. New Monterey 6, Rec Trail Water Tank Renewal. New Monterey 7, Canada Public Restroom Construction. New Monterey 8, the Schultz Park Walkway and ADA accessible fitness area. We have New Monterey 9, David Spencer Creek Extensions. We got Skyline Forest 1, Chatswood Median. Skyline Forest 2, the Old Highway K-Rail. Skyline Forest 3, Highway 68 Bike Path. Skyline Forest 4, Greenbelt Tree Removal. And Skyline Forest 5, Greenbelt Fuel Reduction. Skyline Ridge, Dry Creek Sewer and Fire Access Road. Bill Demonte 1, the synthetic volleyball turf at Montecito Park. Bill Demonte 2, Remote Avenue Traffic Calming. Bill Del Monte 3, Ramona Avenue highway screening. Bill Del Monte 4, Del Robos Avenue streetlights. Bill Del Monte 5, Ferrari Park playground expansion. And Bill Del Monte 6, Montecito Park phase 4. Okay, so that gets us back on track. Where did we move on? Yeah, so now I'm at, we've gone through citywide 33. Now we're starting at citywide 34, getting it out, getting the work orders up, 92 Johnson Canyon Greenbelt, so fully funded. The applicant pulled it, we have a picture. Oh, excuse me.
Did we have an opportunity for the public to speak to the beach mats?
No.
Oh, no.
We didn't have any public comment on any of that, Kate, I don't think.
Thank you for correcting me. Let's start off citywide 17, the accessible beach mats. Oh, okay, well, I just finished up here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tammy.
I'm Tammy, I'm the proponent of this project, and I'm speaking on behalf of all mobility challenged people, especially the MS and PD, multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's disease community, which I am part of. We really want mats, we want to be able to get down to the beach to enjoy our community beaches with our families and friends. That's it. I'm a proponent of it. There are many people that I know that are disabled that want it. Obviously, a lot of people can't be here today to speak to it, so I'm their spokesperson. Okay?
Thank you.
Works and Recreation. We are very much in favor of making everything available to persons differently able. However, we do have some concerns about our ability to keep this particular type of beach mat clean so it will perform the function that it needs. There may be other mats or sand tire wheelchairs that could be made accessible to persons differently able. And so we wanted to look into that before we supported the beach mats. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good evening.
Hello. My name is Carrie Ann Hess. I've been a Monterey County resident for the last 16 years as I came down here to go to CSUMD from Sacramento. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 15 years ago and have been using a wheelchair for the past 10 years. I do not consider myself handicapped. I am not disabled. I am differently able, and I appreciate you using that term. One thing that is very frustrating, and I will ask you to imagine my niece and godson, grandmother, and sister-in-law out on the beach next to Wharf 2, and myself sitting on the bike path with binoculars watching them to be able to enjoy their time out on the beach. Now, sitting on the bike path, I have to make sure that I'm aware of the bicycles that are also coming at me. The other proposition, I believe, is for Del Monte Beach over near Casa Verde. That, too, we have a wonderful rolling path up on the top of the dunes. But there again, I don't even know how far it is down, even close to the water from that boardwalk. I again also have to use binoculars to participate with family members in that beach scenario. As for the other beach mat possibilities, I would be interested in seeing if there was a good alternative to keep them clean. As for the beach wheelchair, I don't know if anybody has ever seen the beach wheelchair that is housed out at the Parks and Recs office off of Garden Road. Let me just say that. I would have a very difficult time getting in and out of it. I would imagine many of you might have a very uncomfortable time getting in and out of it. I would ask you to try getting in and out of it and try transporting it to the beach. I have an accessible van. My chair fits in my van, but there is no way I'd be able to get another chair in that van. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I just say one more thing?
We have 2 minutes. Anybody here want to talk about citywide, any more on citywide 17? All right, citywide 18, Sports Center Park Lot.
Parks and Recreation, we are supportive of the parklet. We have some areas of grass, and there's a lot of elderly people or people who don't drive who are waiting for their ride, and there's no place for anyone to sit. So this is a good opportunity to create a very safe environment with shade and seating, so that it's a little bit more welcoming for people coming and going. Little kids are often waiting for their parents too. So Parks and Rec does support citywide 18. Thank you.
Citywide 19A, the rec trail improvements for segregating the rec trail. Any public comment on it?
As you probably all know, you've been on the recreation trail. It's very impacted between Fisherman's Wharf and the Coast Guard here, and there's a huge number of pedestrians. I both ride and bike on there, and it's, by statistics that we've heard, it's about 80% pedestrians and 20% bicycles. And so this painting plan would put a too large proportion of the road for bicycles. The problem with bicyclists is they go fast. The problem with pedestrians is they go slow. They're from all over the world. They don't always stick to the right-hand side. They don't speak English. They're in groups. They're weird, and cyclists are trying to move fast. So as I stated before, that speed differential is a huge problem. We've been unable to get our $6 million rebate, but I don't think this is the answer, because it doesn't address it appropriately. We are, however, in support of doing what we can with concrete on the B portion. Thank you.
Richard?
Yeah, I wanted to bring a comment up that nobody's mentioned before. On the East Coast, we have Plymouth Rock. On the West Coast, that choke point on the rec trail is our Plymouth Rock. That's where Monterey was discovered in 1602. I've heard people say they want to build a bridge across that so they can widen the trail. I want everybody to keep that history in mind while we redesign in our minds what this trail should be. And I don't want to see single file pedestrians around the rec trail. We have to design our facilities for everybody, and that's what it was, a recreational trail. I think we're going to have to keep our history in mind, or we're going to have to tell the council we don't know what we're doing when we keep looking for solutions without researching them further.
Jamie?
I agree. I think it's important to keep this accessible. I want to note to the public that when I ride through there with the family, it's terrifying, because it's very hard for me to control my children who run bikes. And I don't think that pedestrians should be seen as speed bumps to slow bikes down. That's not so keeping them safe is important. I really invite us to think of one or the other, because every day there's bikes out there and we've got some risk.
Sharon?
Okay, this widened part, I'm talking 19B. It says here decomposed granite at Parks and Rec. There was discussion about concrete would be better. We are having problems with the DG eroding, and we're getting puddles along the way. So if it's a lesser cost for concrete than it is for DG, whatever the cost would be, it seems to me we should be looking at what we can successfully maintain. And if that means a tinted concrete as opposed to a decomposed granite, I think we should seriously do that and consider that as the course of action.
Sure. Actually, well, we can talk about 19A and B now. I just had A on there. Anybody have comments on A or B for Citywide 19? Citywide 20, the Shoreline Park Bike Storage Service, any public comment on that? Citywide 21, the Vets Park Bike Path. you doing, John?
Good, thank you. John Wilkes, resident in Parkinson, as Veterans Memorial Park. I live at the campground, and so I see lots of people riding up the hill for exercise that live in the community. And as well as that, we have a hiker biker area there, and there's a lot of people that travel up and down the west coast, some going from Canada to Mexico, and Veterans Park is one of the main stopovers for them to stay before they head down into Big Sur. Coming up to the hill there, there's times of the year where the sun can be shining in your eyes, you can be blinded, you can't see what's coming or going in through there. And it gets very narrow in some of those places, and it's dangerous, and I'm surprised there aren't more accidents than there are. I almost had one myself in my changeover one time, and I got off the road right away. But I'd like to see you supported if you would please. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Who's Richard first and Sharon?
Can you give an estimate of the tree loss and anything this like?
It's about 30 pine trees and 30 oak trees would need to be mitigated, regardless of pretty much whichever way I go. It might be, if I go, that's what's along the roadway.
Could you explain the word mitigated?
All our projects, if I take a tree down, we usually do a 2-to-1 ratio replant on the reforest. It's typically a 2-to-1 ratio. Or sometimes I say a
100-year-old oak and replace it with 2 5-gallon oaks?
These are puny.
These are small oaks.
These are not significant.
These are all about 6-8 inch.
How big are the pines?
Same thing. Oh, let me show you.
They're not, this was not significant tree.
So let's see, this is citywide.
I just wondered.
Yeah, sure. Let me see. Citywide 21.
Yeah, I wanted to comment and say on the van tour, we were looking at 2 alternatives, and where one of them was going to sweep around and connect up at the top. We said while we were out there, it really makes more sense that we simply keep them next to the road. They're going to be loss of trees either way. The ones, as you widen the road and you take out those trees, there's a whole meadow area where the trees can be planted, and it actually would enhance the area.
And that clears it up. Yeah,
Here, Richard.
Yeah.
So basically, this is the side of the tree, these are the sides of the pines that we cut out. There's a big cut bank on it, we're going to flatten that out. It goes around, we have about 30 of these trees along the curve there.
Okay, I understand that.
We parked below that and we were looking up, and we could see these trees and said it really made more sense that we keep it next to the road.
Yeah, the other one was zigzagging right here.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Jeff, can you say how much steeper this one would be, the one by the road would be? Because it'd be shorter, probably.
It'll follow the grade of the roadway.
Right.
This could be a little,
Which is steeper than your original plan.
Right, but we'll have, I'll probably about 10 or 12, 50% by the time I go back around. We haven't got the exact rates. I won't make 8.33.
That didn't get public comment.
If I may?
Yes.
Yes, hi. Ellen McKeown, Parks and Rec. We recognize this corner as a very unsafe corner, and it needs improvement. This is a good project. If there's another way that we can do it, that's also a good way, we would be in support of whatever we can do to make it safer for the cyclists coming to Veterans Park, coming or going. Thank you.
Just real quick, the site is an old quarry where this trail would go, and we'll take out some trees. These are like young trees relative to old ancient oaks and large pines. I'd like to see a study. If the alternative is to widen the street, put a bike lane in, I'd like to see a study that would say that that's going to be as safe as the bike trail. If it is, then that might be good to go. But right now, that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
Any other comments on CUI 21? Okay, CUI 22, the use center, Park Road update?
Parks and Rec. The youth center equipment is quite old. It really is in need of an upgrade. A lot of kids use this, and we support this project. Thank you.
I want to mention 20% of the cost is the ADA ramp from the building down to the play equipment. So that's included, and that's why the price is a little higher than you might expect. And the ADA is required. So it makes sense that the kids in the preschool program have access with ADA from the building.
Citywide 22. Any comments on Citywide 24 LTL Park?
This is supported by Parks and Rec. It's one of our priority items. We feel this would enhance everybody's health and fitness in a local natural setting. So, thank you.
Citywide, anybody else? Citywide 25, Fremont Traffic Annotation System, partial funding. Citywide 26, that's parking lot renovation.
Parks and Recreation reviewed this one, and we think that we do not support it. It doesn't seem to be well designed for the area.
It's been altered since you saw it, actually.
Oh.
It's been de-scoped down to just make 88 parking spot and resurfacing the parking lot.
Okay.
And the price came down when you saw it on, what I bring it to you, 16?
I think so.
Yes,
Yeah.
well,
Okay. In
I
that
can show
case,
you.
I have no comment.
John.
John Wilkes, park attendant. That's the head department for the trailhead. We're going up into Huckleberry Hill. Every year that area seems to be getting busier and busier. It happens several times a week that all of the parking spaces are taken in there. Parking lot's in terrible condition. I'd like to see that if it was resurfaced and taken care of for the residents. It's mainly used by the residents. It is not used by the people that stay in the campground very frequently. It is occasionally, but they usually walk up from the campground to the resident parking lot.
Based on the van tour, we all agree it needs it.
Yeah.
It really does need it.
Dave.
I just want to mention what you did when we went out there, that you made maybe some efficiencies because you're doing that court down below too.
If both those get funded, like all my projects, I would combine the two and have efficiencies of the asphalt work. And hopefully all my projects, when I close them out, we can bring back in that peak. But for now, we have separated those costs. Anybody else? Okay, so Citywide 27, Citywide restroom study. You have a comment on that?
Restrooms, hygiene are huge fundamental issues of concern to every Monterey resident. And I think that we do need a study. We need to find out what the need is. We need to find out what is in the works. And before we can make a request to City Council for a 24-hour site or several 24-hour sites, we need to know what we have and be able to place the facts in front of them. And I think a modest study would give us the horsepower that we need to reinforce our request by the time it comes. So Parks and Rec is in favor of a study. Because 27 is now the study, right? Yes. Great. Thank you.
Citywide 28, that's Park Half Court. Where are you at, John?
John Oaks, Veterans Park. The basketball court is quite small at this time. We're located about a mile up from the high school, and we have a lot of the local kids that come up there to put shoe hoops and practice. Some of the parents come up there with their kids. See a lot of them shooting the first basketballs with the little kids up there, and we do have some of the campers that use it too. But primarily it's used by the local people, and it's used just about every day that the climate is good. It's a rainy day, not so much, but otherwise there's people that are there every day. And a lot of the local high school kids, I talked to them, and they would really appreciate it that the court was a little bit larger so they could practice their three-point shots and do things like that. Whatever we can do to get them off the streets and doing something like this, I think will be beneficial for the community. Thank you for your time.
Elaine with Parks and Rec. We also support this, although I'm not a basketball player, and there's a lot of people are, it must be a heck of a fun game. We would really like to have this because we see the need in the community, and my understanding is it does include the fence, right?
Yes.
Bravo, thank you.
Any other comments on citywide 28? Citywide 30, milestone plaques.
Good evening, NIP. My name is Mike Sovereign. I'm a member of the city's Commission for Museums and Cultural Arts, and I wanted to speak to CW30. You may not realize that there's a set of small plaques which reach up the sidewalk from Pacific Avenue to Colton Hall, and they commemorate important events of Monterey's history, but they stop about 100 years ago. So we'd like to create a few more and lay them out along the side, reaching toward the city manager's office. Since I mentioned Colton Hall, I want to go back for a second to the citywide Colton Hall project, which I think you've already passed by, but I got your name, I'm sorry. Colton Hall is really the symbol of the city. The museum there gets 1,000 visitors per month, and it's just a real important piece. It's 170 plus years old, and it needs some help because it was constructed of Carmel stone, you know, the soft stone with mortar. And originally the mortar was put in so the wall was flat and the rain ran down like that. Unfortunately, both the stones and the mortar has retreated, so the water goes like this and wears out the stones. And we've got to get that back because you can see the stones are not supported, so they're cracking in places. So this project, I want to thank the NIP. They did phase 1 of this project to resurface the Colton Hall, and I just really would hope you can find your way in phase 2, which is the second to last phase.
I'll restart you. You didn't talk about citywide 16, the mural on OCL Adobe.
Yes.
If you want APC, I can put that in with Dennis.
Okay. There has been a mural at the end of the walk through the hotel, the Portola Hotel, and it's been attached to the hotel, and they'd like to use that space for something else, as I understand. And so we'd like to take that mural and move it to the garage wall, as I remember.
It's right on the side of our OCL Adobe.
Oh, the OCL Adobe. As you walk through to Alvarado, past the theater, there's a nice blank wall, which is city property, I guess. Yes, so we won't run into the problem of having to move it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And the other one was Colton Hall Phase 2, citywide 15. That's what we went to Phase 2. Citywide 31.
I'm sorry, citywide 50, which wall are we talking about this time? We funded.
Well, we funded one. I wasn't able to do the construction, so we'll probably start on. If I get funding for 2 walls, I'll reevaluate it, see which is the worst wall, and we do prioritize it. Citywide 31, conduit insulation pipe project.
Well, I'm going to read this off. I'm kind of efficient here, so I just want to point out go over the points of why CW31 is important. Just a list of bullet points before we go. CW31 provides a real and pragmatic first step in underground infrastructure for power and communication utilities. CW 31 is to be combined with Measure S to see symbiotic advantages to both. CW 31 will meet the Dig Once objective where Measure S streets destined for full reconstruction will have conduit placed after demolition and before reconstruction. This avoids a loss of S investment in a new street. An eventual savings of 35% approximate in utility infrastructure can be expected. A savings of 20% approximate for overall A to Z undergrounding of both power and communication utilities can be expected. Well, by Dig Once approach to us. CW 31 provides a shovel in the ground pilot project for reasons of discovery and increased understanding of the future in underground. A unique conduit configuration has been proposed by the City Works Department that could be tested here. CW 31 will have a timeline and a deadline set by Measure S, so it will happen. CW 31 demonstrates a commitment to undergrounding utilities in Monterey. CW 31 offers options of city ownership. Since this first conduit will be city-owned, the city can consider at a future time full ownership of power and communications infrastructure. This offers a possible lease revenue stream to the city. More significantly, this can offer the municipality stricter control over utility providers, with customers seeing greater competition among providers and a larger provider pool. So,
I'm Rick Myers, I live in the Monterey neighborhood. To support the underground conduit is a common sense approach. We're going to have roads that are torn up during reconstruction, and we've known that these telephone utility poles are going to need to come down eventually for a long time now. 1970, all new construction was required to be underground. We know it's just a matter of time. Cities are committed to doing this all over the state. In fact, Carmel and Pebble Beach recently are committed to it. There's so many reasons, but as Bruce has mentioned just a few, we're primarily concerned about the power poles now being a liability and a risk to us with fires. This due to more foliage is dry and it's nice, real easily, and during the high wind, seas come down, it's a real risk. There are 12 major fires caused by telephone poles in North California that have already proven and several more that have died. We have the fiber optics that Bruce mentioned. Fiber optics cable is the future of our infrastructure, and it's now being controlled by telecommunications. Many cities are choosing to use a municipal approach. All of this ties in with putting conduit in first so that we can do this for the future. And the municipal fiber optic cables will allow for more of an equity approach towards more people will have true fiber available straight into their homes, since we be putting conduit in the road, and then subsequently when neighborhoods decide to future hook it up, they'll be easily go straight into their homes, rather than using a slow approach that AT&T, Comcast, and other telecom companies will do. They also have intentions of putting cell towers on all of these existing telephone poles, which will provide a great deal of risk to the poles as well as our potential health.
Thank you.
Hi, Pat Mensa, President of Monterey Vista Neighborhood Association. And our neighborhood started this little subcommittee to look at undergrounding. And this is just a tiny little one first step towards looking at the big picture of getting the city underground. So we're hoping that we can get this $250,000 to do this Dig Once project. It was designed with the help of Steve Woodtree. We don't know what neighborhood it would go in. He will pick the best street that it would get used in the most efficiently and go the longest distance. So we're hoping you will all know that this is not about Monterey Vista, even though it has come up to the top of our list on the survey. But we're not saying where it will actually happen. Mr. Richter would make that decision, but we just want to see the city get started in any sort of way towards undergrounding, mainly because of the fire situation, the condition of the poles, the idea of more cell antennas around the neighborhoods. So it's for the good of all of us. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Grimes, and I'm a member of Old Town Neighborhood Association, and I'm also very interested in seeing conduit being installed and underground utilities in our city, as I think it's a future of the city. I think it's to provide safety and to make our city a more beautiful place to live and a place to be proud of. And I would just like to see this project get started so that we can get at least an impetus into working in that direction, because I think a lot of cities are thinking about this, and I think it's the way for the future. And if we want to, I want to preserve our history, but I also want us to see us go forward for the future too, and not be behind the times. So I just wanted to let you know that I support this project.
Any other comments on citywide 31 in the public? Okay, I'll bring it back, Jamie.
Clarification, I think this went through, this project was costed out as one block with no tie to anything on either side. I think when we talked about it, we said there's other ways that industry is implementing these things at less than $200 a foot. Is there a vision that might be the direction this would go, and this would represent a pool at less than $200 a foot that could get some sort of basic network started? Or are we still really focused on just one block?
It's focused on doing about 600 feet of the trench and a 54-inch trench on both sides of the street.
The dollar amount was chosen based on the first blush of 6 blocks. And the telling will be when a Measure S street is put out to bid. It will be without conduit, and then Steve Witry explained, then a bid would go in with conduit, and then we will start to understand the delta to including conduit. And the amount has never been one block. It has just been $250,000 to see how far that goes, and what the realities are, what the reactions of the community is. Will people want to, from there, create their own assessment district? Will the community say, hey, this is a great idea, we got, the front of my property is 50 feet, so if we got 600 feet, that would be 12 houses on one side, 12 on another. Hey, we got 24 houses for 250,000, maybe we can do this, and maybe we can use more NIP money, maybe we could use, this money, that money, be creative. But to ignite the continuing discussion of how to achieve a goal that a lot of residents want.
Sharon.
The underground study that was done assumed that there would be one trench. So this is new in that it would be 2 trenches, one on each side. I talked to Steve Witry, and he was explaining that the block that they would select would hopefully have few driveways. It definitely would not have curb and gutter and sidewalk on either side. It would be more Monte Vista, skyline, not a finished street. And what they really wanted to find out was, what would it cost to do double trenches? So that was the goal, and how far this would go. He was guessing probably 1 block, and it really depends on which block. How many, I asked him about the side pieces, because you have to have the branching to go to each one of the houses. And that was another reason why he wanted to have fewer driveways, because it'd be fewer branches that would be required, that I'm not using the technical term, but anyway, yeah.
So that eliminates any neighborhood that has curb gutters and sidewalks.
Yes,
So that narrows it down.
right.
But my question is, $250,000, a lot of projects won't get passed by, the small projects, because of this, but you gotta have some way to feed the utilities in and some way to get the utilities out. You can't just plop a block out of the middle of the neighborhood, because PG&E may say, no, you gotta start way down here. So I'm just wondering, in all these evaluations, are we gonna get a viable block out of this? Or is it just gonna be plucked out of the air and no way in, no way out? So, and my concern is, we haven't got an answer to that. And you could see another 10 neighborhoods like a project if this one passes. Understand that. Some of the smaller projects we got that the neighborhoods really want won't pass. So my concern is beginning, middle, and end. I don't know what that is.
Marilyn.
Richard, I really agree with you. I think this is a very, it's almost a misty project. There are no variables that are really being tested here except for seeing if possibly this can be done. And why the city doesn't do it themselves, I don't know. Why are they coming to MIP? I'm not really sure that was the thing. I'm feeling uneasy.
Any comments?
Am I allowed to speak?
Well, we're back on the board, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
I do not, I'm hoping not want to get into debate of the merits of the project.
Right,
It's more
right.
about public.
I just wanted to tell you it's not coming from the city, it's coming from the residents.
Thank you. All right. That will go to Citywide 32, downtown Port Loup. Any public comment on that?
As I stated earlier, Parks and Rec is very interested in bathrooms, as are all human beings, and in hygiene, but we do not support this project. We support the study because we want to have information before implementation. Thank you.
Any other comments on CW 32? CW 33, Vet Park Greenbelt Fuel Reduction. I'd say this will be put into the one green Greenbelt Fuel Reduction. Any public comments on Vet Park Greenbelt Fuel Reduction? Okay. So I can say Citywide 34, Johnson Canyon is fully funded. Greenbelt Fuel Reduction is fully funded this year. We were kind of able to get work last year. Just also for a side note, last year we only had one contractor, and we ran into contract limitations because we spent $1 million. This year we have 2 contractors to do forestry, but we also need to get forestry personnel. We only have 1 out of 3 people working here.
Jeff, could you clarify, this is down by Mark Thomas Drive?
Yeah, Johnson Canyon is down by Mark Thomas Drive and Old
Way
Swedish
down the
Highway.
road, yeah.
Those 2 sections. Richard.
The prisoners that we have working for us, is that out now?
No, they're not available till June at this point.
Okay.
That's the earliest we can.
But we'll continue using them and the goats too?
Goats around a long time.
Yeah, I couldn't get under contract last year. I'll try again this year.
No, they're used elsewhere.
Yeah, our regulations are having a tough time, but we're trying.
And then the other comment we have with all the green belts, I'll get there. When we get to that part stuff, people want to know exactly how much work, what work got done. We're about 2-3 months lag behind what actual was costed to these green belts. And by slide at the end of the tonight, you'll see how much we have on the books. It's about a 2 months lag. But we also ran into contractual problems, so we just had to pull POs, written work we would have done because we couldn't exceed the $1 million limit with our forestry. And you see that here at the end. But we don't have a detailed map. Louis down to 1 man out of 3. We don't have a forester. Mr. Greenbelt is running everything for us, so we don't have a detailed work's been done, you know, get better. Citywide 35, Cemetery Caldera, Florida, that didn't change. Oh, nothing. Okay, I'll go through. Citywide 36, rec trail, patch repair, that cost went down to $238,000 just to reconstruct the areas that have been uplifted for the rec trail between Ellis Trail to Casa Verde. The original price she had was paving the whole thing. Citywide 37, Fremont Street sidewalk just on the north side. Sidewalk, we do need some curb and gutter in some areas, but take the roadway out. Citywide 38 is now A and B. Slope monument landscape, sidewalk path between Lower Harbor Trail and Museum, the A. I'm going to finish this first, then I'll open up the public hearing. The Citywide 38B is the Fort Irvine pathway up from the slope monument. Oh, and A includes the landscaping up by the slope monument. Citywide 39B is scenic highway signs, but we make signs and give them Caltrans, have changed. Citywide 40, Hill Street Southside walking access, it hasn't changed, 217. Citywide 41 is the downtown safety bollard installation. I picked the one portion of it. There's 3 different areas we showed you. This does the Alvarado, which is the main emphasis for downtown. And then we have Citywide 42, the emphasis that was pulled from the applicant. Citywide 43, the Vets Park Lodgeball Court surface improvements. I put a price in at $3,500. Citywide 44 is the Emergency Operations Center. And the only itemized items for upgrades that were actually fixed items. They did not, ISD has put in their budget this year, the other items wouldn't be fixed items. That's one of my costs to come back to it. And Citywide 45 is the Jocelyn Canyon radar speed signs. And then Citywide, this is on the bus tour, you previously had shown you the wrong area, more down there by the Deer Flats entry area out of Jocelyn. Citywide 46 is Jackson Park infill. This is just infill in the turf, does not do the sod, but does have ADA. Any questions on this Citywide 35 through 46? Yes.
Citywide 47 is going to be...
I've got, that's my next sheet over.
Okay, and pickleball is on there?
Yes.
Yes.
Archie, I was blown away by the sidewalk in front of the cemetery. Could you explain that?
It's curb gutter and sidewalk.
It's $1.4 million?
$1.4 million in our estimate. So it's a long block. It's over.
It's long, but it's not paved in gold, is it?
We just use the unit prices we have and working on a major artillery. We've been paying $50,000, $80,000 for traffic control.
DG's pretty nice.
Any other comments on Citywide 35?
I'm going to jump in on his attitude about it and say, if the city is serious about wanting to have some pedestrian improvement, then maybe we can get a CIP component to match with this. To ask us to do all of this when it's a DG path now, but I think that's just way over the top.
Even half is over the top.
Yeah.
That's 25%.
On CW 37, sidewalks along Fremont, I think it's a bad idea, but it says sidewalks on both sides, period, north side only.
Yeah, I only estimated the north side. The other side, I didn't take out the description.
North side.
The original project had on both sides of Fremont, on the NPC side and the cemetery side.
North side only makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I'm only giving the estimate for the north side. Sharon.
Citywide 36, when we were at Parks and Rec, the proponent agreed with Parks and Rec that they'd be willing to have these kinds of repairs go all the way to the city limit line. And said yes, they would change the scope. So I'm wondering if this were to continue to the city limit line, what would the cost be
This is
for
about,
just the repairs?
this is for 6,000 lineal feet. That'd be adding another, I'll take a look at probably at least 2,000 feet.
Okay.
So this isn't just patches,
This is full reconstruction where it's uplifted. It's not paving the entire section.
it's just where it's uplifted, so
Yes.
that section of path is in pretty good shape, so it would not.
Yeah, I don't think we need to work like eucalyptus grove and cypress trees and stuff. You don't have to.
Maybe you can give us the information.
Sure.
Voting, or else email to us what it would be, one or the other.
It'll be when we send out the, I'll address that when we send out the staff report for voting.
The other thing I wanted to ask was with citywide 38A, could we have a price that would be just for the sidewalk path, separate from the landscaping?
Okay, it's landscaping 7,000.
Okay, because I know that all three components were, as I look at it, the highest need is the walkway.
Yes.
Nobody's getting hurt because of lack of landscaping. So I would like the opportunity to vote for that component if I can.
I'll let Frank talk about that.
The applicant has to do it.
Yeah.
I understand, I was just asking.
Yeah. Any other, on board members, public comment? Let's start for citywide 35, the cemetery called Monterey. Any comment on that? Citywide 36, the rec trail repairs. Already got a comment to go to city limits.
As Sharon mentioned, we wanted to consider taking it all the way to the city line. We're very much in favor of increasing safety and decreasing liability on the rec trail. There's a lot of lifted areas, as you know. Thank you.
Any other comments on citywide 36? Citywide 37, Fremont Street, summer construction. Citywide 38, A and B. You're up, Frank.
All right. Frank Solicitor, Home Monterey Foundation. As you know, we've been doing a lot with the Lower Procedural Project with the partners with the city. And of course, we all know that that's the most historical piece of property on the West Coast. And some historians say the whole country. It's the only park, I think, that we've built since Window on the Day. And of course, it's our biggest park. And it serves two neighborhoods, or it connects two neighborhoods, Old Town and New Monterey. But sometimes big isn't always best. Because if it's so big, it's a lot of walking to get around it. And of course, we've done some paths, and we need to continue the path process and sidewalk process for people to walk up to the Fort Irvine. And Fort Irvine in the 60s, I remember was in really good shape. You go up there and it's the best view around the slope monument in Fort Irvine. Now if you go up there, you can barely see the cannons. I mean, the weeds are taller than a lot of people. And so it would be real nice. I mean, the old Monterey Township would love the city, neighborhood. We appreciate what the NIP's done because I'm proud of the park. I remember how bad it was. I mean, the military just let it go to pieces. But it'd be great to get this path connecting, and if we could do some cleanup around Fort Irvine and get it to where people can get up there and actually enjoy it, that'd be great. And Sharon's idea, we want to do it where we can get something benefit. So we're willing to make deals. So thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Anybody else on citywide 38 A and B?
Hi, I'm the Judge Garcia. Monterey is a fabulous place to live. There's so many wonderful things, but really the crown jewel is our history. And I agree with everything that I've heard previously. We're very much in favor of funding these. It's a huge price tag, but if we can start with landscaping and walkways as a phase project, we in support of whatever can be done by NIP towards making this happen. Thank you.
Anybody else on citywide 38? All right, citywide 39, Highway 68, Scenic Highway signs. Any comments on that? Citywide 40, Full Street South Side walking access. Any comments? Citywide 41, downtown safety bollards installation. You're on top.
Oh, yes, no. Sure.
My turn. Zoning.
How close are we to the citywide 44? Yeah, Lieutenant Holzer, I'm the fire department,
And I want to speak in support of this. As you are aware, there's many places, even in this state, where errant vehicles have driven into large crowds of people and caused a lot of death and injury. And so as a result of that awareness of that, you may have noticed that during the farmers markets, we park a fire engine down across the street just to serve as a barrier. That's not the best option. And so we totally support the idea of putting some bollards in there. They would look a lot nicer. They would, be up to Monterey standards as far as what it should look like, because there's so many events that happen down on all of our street. And so please, for the safety of our residents and visitors, thank you.
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
When there isn't an event and the street is open, where do you envision the bollards being stored?
Underground.
They're just retracted?
Yeah, exactly. They lift up out of the ground and lock in place in the upper position, and then they can drop back down into the ground during normal operation.
Okay, and so we'll finish with that. Before you leave, I want to go back to the fire road up in Skyline Ridge.
Okay, yeah, I have not looked at that project.
I always sent that to Jim Courtney and David Reed, and not sent it to the chief for comment.
So, okay, leave a fit on that one. Just to answer a question about the bollard, if you go to the 10th Street gate at NPS, it's very high security. If you look very closely, if you just park and walk and look, you can see where they have the pop-up bollards. They're pretty much flat, but they push a button someplace. It's really neat. I don't believe we're looking at the push a button someplace for
Or somebody cutting it fast.
So you're actually manually lift it up.
They're either hand cranked up, but they're all, the expense is that they can stop a semi-truck.
You realize that $500,000 is what's costing us to have breakfast.
And can I ask a question? What does a new fire truck cost?
A little bit more than $500,000, about
And
$650,000.
you would rather we spend it on bollards rather than an extra fire truck that would do that job across the...
If the NIP were to fund a new fire engine, I'd be all over it. Wouldn't be able to respond to calls because it'd have to be bolted down somewhere.
Well, that's my point. We sit here and we wonder, gee, if we were going to spend $500,000 for protection that is now done by equipment crossing the lanes, wouldn't that be more multifunctional? I hear you say you aren't going to get $500,000 for a truck.
I'm working on that too, but not here.
Thanks, Steve. Any other public comment on Citywide 41? Citywide 43, budget for services?
Young Wilkes, Veterans Park. Everybody, I should say that, a lot of people are aware of how popular bocce ball is here in the city of Monterey. And we've got a nice court that we have people in a year ago up to the campground. Unfortunately, I believe it was funding problems that led the surface to be not what was really desired by most of the people that participated in bocce ball. And so a lot of the neighbors, they come down, they used to come down before they stopped because of the surface that's in there. It doesn't get used a lot right now, to be quite honest with you. And the only reason I can come up with is because of the surface. And so I hope you'll consider funding this. It's, the price tag has dropped a lot from what I originally thought it was going to be. I hope this makes it affordable and doable for you folks to look into and take care of. Thank you.
Yes.
Question for Louis. If it's decomposed granite, is there a reason that parks couldn't supply the DG and compact it? Why, is there a reason that we have to do it that you couldn't do with your existing budget?
What budget? I don't have people right now, so I don't know. 3,500 doesn't sound like much, but at this time of the year, I'm just struggling to get through to July. So I probably could do it, but I hate to make a promise today.
Yeah, I'm looking at it and saying, okay, oyster shell top coat, that's not something that you'd actually have in the yard.
No.
But DG,
Yes.
you probably have a pile of DG there. And so I'm just considering.
It depends, I don't know what you looked at as far as.
I need to work this out.
I haven't seen this yet.
You haven't seen this, we haven't talked yet. I'll be formalizing this before voting that.
What's the surface at the Custom House Plaza?
It's decomposed granite.
That's decomposed granite? Yeah. And people use it, they have contests there.
Yeah.
And is that what we have at that?
No, I use the class type for base rock.
Okay.
Time, because I'd already been in NFP twice providing for that project, so I just go back in. Citywide 44.
To speak on the Watchdog Court, we in Parks and Rec recommend supporting this project. It's a modest price tag. We'd like to get the Watchdog Court project really completed, and this is the final piece. So we are asking that this be supported by NIP. Thank you.
Citywide 44, Emergency Operations Center upgrade.
Back again. First of all, I want to thank the NIP for funding the EOC originally. It's a valuable addition, and it certainly serves a very, very important purpose in the event of a major emergency. But the nice thing is it also serves a lot of other purposes, including a training facility and a classroom facility for the fire department, for the police department, and for the police department's Citizens Academy, and for CERT. Don't worry, I wasn't going to forget you. So it's turned into quite a useful, it's booked an awful lot. And one of the challenges we have is that all of the technology, the video switching equipment in there and everything is not only breaking, but it's at end of life. We can't get the parts anymore for it. We can't be repaired anymore. So what this is to upgrade to modern technology, replace basically all the audiovisual systems in the building. The other piece of it is the AM radio, which is, I don't know if many of you know, that you can tune into the AM radio 1620, I think but it doesn't work. For two reasons. There's been damage done to not only the antenna itself, but the ground plane. The antenna is actually out in the parking lot. And we've tried all sorts of paths to try and get that repaired. It can't be done. So we're looking at replacing the entire AM radio system so that it actually will function again for emergency notification, because that is really the single most reliable system for communications when you have a major disaster and all your infrastructure drops out. Cell phones stop working when there's no power or towers. Telephones stop working when the lines come down. But an AM radio, all we have to do is have a receiving radio and power at the radio station. We have an emergency generator there.
Is AM more reliable or better than FM?
For this purpose, yes. And most emergency band radios have AM and not all of them have FM. So.
Yeah.
A question. The old system, I tuned in during the Loma Prieta. It had a range of 1 mile, did not reach my neighborhood. Will the new one reach the whole city limits?
We're actually have done some exploration on finding even a better location, since the new system can be remotely programmed. So I could literally pick up my cell phone and put in a new message if necessary. And we've had conversations already with Community Hospital. If we can get it there, you'll be able to hear it in Carmel and all the way to Marina. Or the other possibility is up at Hilltop Park Center, but that doesn't have backup power, so that would be a challenge there. But we're looking at other alternatives, but certainly even an antenna on the roof of the EOC would be much better than that antenna that's in the parking lot that's been cut in half and patched together and what have you.
Then I want to come back. We're saying all fixed items. What is that? What is it that we would be paying for?
That's the video monitors in there, and then there's a whole cabinet full of video switching equipment that allows us to put different things on different monitors and interconnect all that. What it doesn't include, it gets excluded. I think originally the quote also had, the cost projection had like laptops and things like that, which clearly can be DLC quite easily. So everything is be mounted in the cabinet. It's not stuff that you pack up and take home.
Okay, so other than monitors and cabinet, are we talking about wiring in the walls? Anything like that?
There's some wiring.
There will be some
underneath.
There's actually a crawl space underneath, and we have to run new video cables because all the stuff in there doesn't work with new stuff.
Okay. I'm going to add an anecdote. I used to do some teaching of CERT classes there. It was the squirreliest little setup I have encountered. I bring my own computers. Each time I go to try to connect it one way, well, somebody else had used the system some other way, couldn't get their computer. I'd have to ask for personnel to come and switch it. It's definitely ready. It's right. It's
Absolutely, yes.
It's been around for a while, there's a lot of good use.
Yes, it has.
Any other, thank you, Chief. Any other public comment on citywide board to board?
Yes, that was really convincing. I just put a star by that one.
Any other comments? All right, citywide 45 Johnson County radar signs, any public comment on that? And Jack's parking filter, any public comment on that?
No, I think that the Jackson Park infield turf, as in Parks and Rec, is a great idea because you get a better playing field and it requires less maintenance and upkeep. And Parks maintenance and upkeep is overflowing right now, so this is good for now, good for the players, and good for the long run. So we would recommend that you fund that if you can. Thank you.
I think the other item came up, Parks and Rec, that allows more play because you don't have prep time. Once it's prepped up, they have to keep play off or practice off while they wait for games. You can actually increase the volume of use on the weekend.
Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, yes, you did. Sure.
Okay. Louis has mentioned that there's a $75,000 grant or match.
We're trying to get 75 from my
We're hoping for that. So if, I mean, are we going to have any idea whether we could get that before we vote? Because that would bring it down to 353,000, which makes it a little sweeter. I would hope that it would last longer than the 10 years that the artificial turf lasted for the high school.
I think we do a better job.
I just,
Look at Celeste, how realistic.
you know, I just want us all to know, it isn't a permanent installation.
You should get at least 15 years out of it, take care of it.
Richard, when we did the soccer field in Delany Grove, we got a contribution from the water district because we don't have to water lawn anymore. And then we also got a contribution from regional parks. Have any of these agencies been asked to
Tell them to
participate?
stop that program right now.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
What about regional?
I can reach out to regional parks.
Regional parks applications are in September, they know in December, by December. We applied for other parks, and that's usually in order. We've got money elsewhere.
Usually around the 20,000 mark.
And then when we did some of the other parks, some of the local groups like home baseball contributed too. Is anybody contributing to this at all?
Who's the big one last time? Was it Monterey Foundation?
We haven't been able to find other.
Didn't Pony Baseball?
Pony baseball with the grant from somebody else.
All right.
Put in about half.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering about P&R, there's several $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 projects up at Lower Presidio in this turf project, and I'm wondering what's the most important if you had to choose.
Well, they did give us priorities, which I shared.
I know that, but I didn't see a priority based on money, the amount, because we have limited resources.
May I speak to that?
Yeah.
It's been a concern of ours on the Parks and Rec.
Microphone?
Oh, okay. All of these projects are expensive, and it's been a concern of ours on Parks and Rec. And so we asked for guidance from the manager of the Parks and Rec department. And as I stated, we're an advisory committee, and we're actually not supposed to consider the cost of things. I mean, it personally seems kind of crazy to me because that's not how I run my life. But we're supposed to evaluate the projects for conformity to the master plan and for their general benefit to the community. And then you guys are the money end of it. We make our, and I'm sorry, I mean, I can tell you my personal opinion about things, but I'm here on behalf of Parks and Rec, and I can only really tell you the things that we support with our special priority list of the things that are closest to our heart. But, you know, we all have our challenges, so thanks.
Any other comments on CW 46? Okay, so CW 47, by combining the Greenbelt fuel and tree removal projects, so last year, and Ultimatum gets 50,000, Fish Flats Forest 30, Monte Vista gets 50,000, Skyline Forest 4 gets 50,000, Skyline Forest 5 gets 50,000. CW 33 was 50,000, and CW 34, which was Johnson, has sufficient funding. Normally, you folks spend about, last year you spent $330,000 for all the greenbelt areas. In fact, let me get those slides. This is the greenbelt, and the other one, CW 48, it's a pickleball 6-court feasibility study. Previous was MV2. So we put a price tag in, $4,500. This is new, changed to really go through the process. What we do with NIP proposals is to go through all the different park areas and other areas we can, come up with schematic sketches, engineering study, engineering scopes like we do for NIP projects, and go through the Parks and Rec board of where's the best place to put a 6-court feasibility study. When we get to a slide. Let's see. So I'm working with Louis. Hopefully you can see it. So the Ultimate's a greenbelt. Problem is I'm about 2-3 months from cost being in it. So last year we had 50,000 side. We have a balance of about 60,000. All these are going to go down because we haven't done the cost accounting. So if we go 50,000 for Alta Mesa. Fisherman's Flats, they were down to about 5,000, their expense, so we have 30,000 there for Fish Flats. Monte Vista Fuel, this is one of the areas that actually pulled some of the POs because they ran their contract on, so they still have about 105K on this, but these aren't current numbers. We have these on voting night. You may or may not want to find Monte Vista Greenbelt. Skyline Forest Greenbelt tree removal right now is about -25, so you may want to put 100,000 into this. Skyline Forest, we're still doing a true up on our cost accounting. Skyline Forest Greenbelt fuel reduction 65. They just spent about another 10 or 15,000 up there the last couple of weeks. And then Vets Park Greenbelt fuel reduction. They did spend some money out of that. They did stop some of the POs. They would have done more work, but they're under contractual, like I said earlier. Now we have 2 forestry contracts for $1 million, not just hamstrung to 1. And then Johnson Canyon Greenbelt, this is the one they only spent a couple thousand out of it because they had to cut the POs for the contractual. We may not want to put money into it now. So like I said, last year you spent $330,000 funding everything like you normally do for the last 2 years. This year you could possibly go down to $280. I still confirm these numbers with Forestry Department and what the balances are in the current thing. So this is how it's kind of sitting. What we need to do is we can combine all these on one project, because it will save us almost a round of voting, because normally you vote all these, 7 the first round, 2 or 3 the second round. But each sheet would have each individual project and how much. So if we approve the projects, you'd be approving 50,000 Alta Mesa, or 30,000 Fish Flats, or 100,000 Sky Forest for the tree removal, or for the fuel reduction. So each one would be almost like a separate vote, but we could make it one sheet on the wall, so I save all the times of people going for the different rounds. We can only save a round of voting by doing the greenbelt fuel reduction. So we're still, like I say, the issue we have now, we're about 2-3 months out behind what all the cost accounting is, for the invoicing. We're going to get these numbers as close as we can for voting night, or when I send this out the week before the May 15th meeting, we'll have new numbers on this, and I'll explain this in the agenda report. Richard.
We're kind of like this little area, a big circle. We're doing all this work, and everybody around us is doing nothing. I know the state's going to be spending over $1 billion on fuel reduction. Can we qualify for any of that?
Haven't heard.
Well, they're gonna make a major push because of the campfire in Santa Rosa. And I just want to make sure that we're doing all this and that Pebble Beach or the county gets all the money and we don't. I want to make sure that we're in line because we're just ahead of everybody else. But Pebble Beach is the bomb ready to go off next to Skyline
Caltrain's
Forest.
doing a lot right now too.
What about my husband?
No.
Can you add to that, chief?
Colton Highway.
First of all, as your fire chief, I'd be very remiss if I didn't speak in favor of these projects. Because they're certainly very, very valuable, and they have been over all the years, and we certainly appreciate the support. There are a lot of grants and other programs out there now based on California's more recent history that make a lot of money available. The big challenge is there's no such thing as free money. And I'm in the process, we actually are in the testing process of filling a position, and one of my goals for that position in our Fire Prevention Bureau, it's been way understaffed, we have one full-time person in that bureau. And that person is also the fire marshal for Pacific Grove, Carmel, Sand City, et cetera. So he's spread very thin, so I was able to get another full-time position in that bureau, and one of my goals is for that position to start looking at where can we get grants to start handling some of these projects. And the other really big thing I want to do is a community wildfire protection plan, which looks at everything and says, in a grand view, okay, where do we need to put money and what do we need to do throughout the entire community to provide the best and safest.
What I've learned is when you go for grants, the cities that have matching funds ready go to the top of the list. Consider that matching funds.
It's a function of which grants, because some grants do not require matching funds, but certainly if you have something sitting on the table, it does help.
I would ask, can you use your influence with Caltrans to ask them to work on Home and Highway with their efforts?
You're making an assumption that I have influence.
You have more influence than we.
Maybe. And we do work very closely. I've done a lot of work with the Pebble Beach Community Services District in coordinating, because if we clean up the mess all the way up to Holman Highway and they don't do something about the mess on the other side, it impacts us.
Well, I know, I mean, there's Pebble Beach, but I'm thinking the Caltrans piece, we drive that highway and we see all the down trees. We see the dead.
Majority of that's Pebble Beach.
It is. Even on the Monterey side of 68, there's a little swath of that belongs to Pebble Beach. And they've done a lot of work in a couple of other areas in Pebble Beach, but I know that that's targeted for this next
When we
season.
have people who are not careful with their cigarettes, it doesn't take much.
No.
And we're the ones at the top of the cliff.
All right, thank you. So, open up to public comment for citywide 47 or citywide 48, now the study for pickleball.
I'm still hoping that you would handle, or that the people who are interested in the pickleball would handle it the way we handled, meaning NFP handled the basketball court that Richard submitted. Put it in, not as a study, but put it in as, here's a block of money for pickleball to be designed and found place by Parks and Recreation. I hope I'm saying this right. It's not a study. It's, here's the money, Parks and Recreation, go do it. It was very successful on the basketball court, and hopefully it would be successful for the pickleball. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen, Parks and Recreation. I have to tell you, the pickleball people are passionate people. There's a lot out there. And at our meetings, they have come to our meetings more than the dog people, more than anybody else. So there's a real pickleball community, and we want to try and find something right for them. You know, we have been looking at 4 or 5 different sites. we thought we had one, and it just all fell through because it was going to be just, I don't know, $1 million to construct, because we chose something with, rubble under the, anyway, it didn't work. So, again, this is information before implementation, and we really support this feasibility study so we can find the right place that won't cost an arm and a leg, that they can get what they want. We love having them come in, but I think they'd rather play pickleball than beg for courts. So if we could make this happen, we should appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Barbara Lang, and I'm one of the passionate pickleball players. I'm on the board of the Monterey Bay Pickleball Club. We have probably over 110 members, and any given day you'll find us on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, playing from 9 to noon at the Appraisal. And we'll have anywhere from 30 to 40, sometimes 45 people there. And it's just amazing, all ages. We, as Ellen said, we are very passionate. We love the sport, we want to go out there and have fun. We really don't want to take tennis courts away from tennis players, we just want our own place. We don't want to make a lot of noise for neighbors, we just want our own location. If we could find it, we don't know where to find it. That's why we want to do the feasibility study. I totally believe in research before implementing. I'm a project manager, I'm also a physical therapist, so I know the value of exercise and also thinking through the process and where to put it. I don't really know what you did with the basketball one. We're just asking for help to find us a home. That's all we want. And then we don't have to come to your meetings anymore and bother you. But we really, really want your support. Sharon's been phenomenal. Jeff has been great. So has Ellen. And we really hope that you guys can get a little bit of money for us so we can, move on and find a home. And because the pickleball is a growing sport. If you're not aware of it, it's amazing. I've played in the tournaments. We're not asking for tournaments, but I've played all over the state, and it's just phenomenal. So we really hope you can support us, and thank you.
Any other comments on CW 48? Okay. Thank you, folks. So with that, we get to set the project priorities for the neighborhood.
Jeff?
Yeah.
I've got a question about Alta Mesa 4. Is this the time to ask you?
No, we didn't agendize A through M. Other than I have it on this sheet, it's changed.
This is the end of our time. We have to vote next meeting. So it's clarification of projects before we go into voting. It happens now or it doesn't happen. And I can't vote for it if I don't get an answer. With Alta Mesa 4, there's $73,000 that's been set aside for the trail. That amounts to 20% of total of segments 2, 3, and 4. I mean, you add those 3 segments together, and then 20% of that is the money, the $73,000 that's been set aside for the trail head. So my question is, if we fund segment 4, which is $122,000, is there $25,000 of trailhead work that could be done, or do we have to do all of the ADA, assuming that we will eventually fund the other 2 sections?
When I ran it through the ADA Transit Authority, he wanted to get the trailer portion done and then do the segment 4 with the water. That's why the 2 are combined for 195 and we buy that machine.
That doesn't answer my question. We're responsible.
For me to answer your question, I'll do it in the scout report and let out.
But we all need to hear this. We are only required by law to do 20% of whatever it is we fund for ADA. And that would amount to $25,000. We're being asked to do
73. We're required.
I mean, guys, this is important. We are being asked, Dennis, we are being asked to fund a whole front of upfront ADA, when we are only required to do 25,000. I mean, if we're doing segment 4, we're only required to do about 25,000 of ADA. I'm asking you, can we do 25,000 of ADA at the trailhead?
And I'll answer it when I send out the agenda for the voting. I can't answer you right now, I have to check back in with somebody where you're going.
Could we get the conversations aside, because I'm having trouble hearing.
Okay. Any other, since I altered and changed the sheet, which is in the, which actually was in the agenda package, are there any other comments on the agenda package that went out on the projects I need to address to the voting day, besides the M4? Hold on. Kurt?
So on DT7.
DT7, okay.
Sorry, this is DT10.
Okay. DT10?
The submitters agreed that we could split that into half of it.
I gotta work with the submitter. I haven't talked to him since our meeting.
Well, he agreed at the meeting, so I'm pretty sure. And do Figueroa, and then maybe next year we will get.
Okay.
I spoke today with Andrea Rennie, and I was asking her, when we talk about a reconfiguration of an intersection, I was asking her, were there traffic reasons for doing one or both? And her statement was that the Pearl Figueroa intersection is where they really want to put the pedestrian traffic, is where the observed pedestrian traffic is, and there is a very strong safety reason to do Pearl Figueroa. That is not the case at Pearl Adams. And so my request was going to be, would you please split those two, having an A and B?
Yeah.
Because Figueroa, she's saying from a traffic standpoint, there's a real need at Pearl Figueroa. Pearl Adams is...
Pearl Cortez.
Yes, Cortez.
Pearl,
Yeah, well, I'll make an A and B.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sure. Richard.
Yeah, I just want to discuss COP1, the tree study. Some of the other neighborhoods have mentioned to me that they see the same pathology that's going on in our neighborhood, in their neighborhood in York's. But if we're going to sample the other neighborhoods, I'm going to need help on costs, because I'm going to be carrying the whole cost on this study. But I do plan to call a meeting after we get the study and report, and I will disclose all the findings we have of what is the main pathogen and what is the type of cure that the pathologist will recommend on saving these oak trees. So if anybody wants to be included, they need to talk to me and participate in the cost of this. What we plan to do is get a forest pathologist down for one day, and Robert, you and I will do all the documentation ourselves. We'll show the progression of the disease, how many trees we've lost, and we'll do the documentation. So we just need that pathologist to take samples and determine through labs what is this that's causing this. I have a pretty good idea. I've done research on it. He's already published papers on it, but we got to get it confirmed for this locality. It's called a Monterey variant. So if anybody wants a couple samples taken out of their neighborhood, let me know and help me with the cost on this. Other than that, I'll fund the whole thing myself if I have to.
Well, that's my follow-up question. Are we going to wait until the council approves all the funding? We're going to have to, right?
I'm doing the documentation now, and I'm waiting for the funding just to get the forest pathologist and the laboratory work.
It's possible.
I'm already blowing pictures of and doing tree counts now. And it's enormous. It's not small. It's almost 100% disease. So, but there is treatment. So we got to find out how much that treatment is, and we'll deal with that.
And I just have a question on that, because if we're talking about days,
Yeah.
then I understand what you're saying about sharing, but if we're talking about
No, I'm going to do base.
budget,
I'm going to do base. It's too important to us to go through the voting route. So if anybody wants a piece of it, they need to tell me. But I've looked at your neighborhood aerial, sent you photos, and you got the same thing we got. And so does Fish Flats, and so does Monte Vista.
Well, they
so
own three
does-
over here,
and
this
yes,
process.
it's all the same thing, sure.
Yeah.
So I need help. So we'll do that building.
I apologize, I was in another event, and I missed the beginning, so did you guys already cover the fact that on Del Monte Beach number 3, the neighborhood's willing to work with Parks is concerned and reduce the number of equipment pieces being installed to one?
We didn't discuss any of the Del Monte Beach
So
projects.
there's a change to the amounts, so when does that show up then? Because it goes down from 88 to 88 minus 15. So that would make it 63.
Del Monte Beach 3?
Yeah, so Del Monte Beach 3 goes down to 63. And then also, Del Monte Beach number 6, we want to fully fund that. And so we need to reduce whatever our base is, which is.
They gave you that tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
And you'll find on the playground equipment, Jamie, the playground equipment is cheap compared to the ADA.
These are, Mike's, we're getting way too much discussion. I just need to know what I need to fill out when I send my staff report out.
Okay. Did you have any more? No? Yes, go ahead.
Downtown Fort,
Yeah.
can we pull that and put it with the meeting equipment, especially?
The applicant has to pull it.
No, they don't. We bundle them. We're not changing the scope.
That's not changing the scope.
We're just bundling it.
All right.
Yeah, I don't.
Can I speak for where I is?
Yeah.
On
Well, I can't quite hear the conversation now.
I was under the impression that Del Monte Grove 3, because Parks and Recreation was opposed to it, was trying to study that we get informed.
I haven't confirmed that with the applicant to change the scope.
Okay, okay. And our priorities are.
Jeff, again,
Hold on.
that again is not something, they have an idea. They ask for it. The Parks and Rec Commission has said it's not going to go in that park. There is nothing more to discuss with the proponent. There isn't. They have said, the commission will look to see where they would put something that could be locked up at night. It has nothing to do with the proponent. And it's something we cannot do.
I'll check.
So our priorities are number 5 is number 1.
We're not there yet.
Hold on, I'm making comments I need to address to send out my staff report. Then I'll get the priorities for the neighborhoods. Yeah, so I gotta send out staff report tonight, and I need to address what comments come in tonight. Any other comments on the project list that you got tonight? We can always get to that. Yes, Sean.
Okay, downtown 7, Anthony and El Estero ADA ramps. We have the question whether.
It's a Measure S street.
It is a Measure S. So does that mean that it's not going to be on our list?
Probably. I just haven't had a chance to correct it.
So we'll be dropping it.
That's the only project that's on a Measure S for reconstruction. All the rest are gonna be maintenance sealed. We'll not touch the rest.
Okay, so DT7 is full,
Yeah,
or referred.
yeah.
Yeah, Measure S. Okay, I wanted to confirm, downtown 9, Seminole Plaza, Trader Joe's, flashing light. Is the signage going to be for both directions? I know the request was for only one direction. I talked with Andrea, and she indicated that for that location, it needs to be in
Yes,
both
yes,
directions.
that's for both locations.
Okay, so you don't need to answer it, that is the answer. Okay, and then I too was asking that we split downtown 10 into the Figueroa and Cortez, their intersection.
Any other comments on the project list I need to address? Okay, so with that, let's go into set the priorities in the neighborhood. We'll start here with Dave.
Your flats? We're going out in the flats.
Do you have any comment to the citywide one that's the Johnson County street sign?
We're gonna meet with Tom's neighborhood on Monday, which is the next traffic calming group meeting over the church. I really don't have any feedback from my neighborhood on whether they like this location or not, so I don't know.
Richard?
Yes,
Favorite priorities?
first priority is the tree study. The second priority is the park improvements.
For the next Richard.
COK 1 is 1 and COK 2 is 2.
And COK 2 includes COK 3.
That's 2 and 3
It's
combined.
combined, yes. They're both park projects.
All right. Arlen,
We don't have,
do you have any comments on city life?
yeah, I forget which one it was, I'm sorry, I can come back to me.
Sure. Delaware?
Number 5 is number 1 of the volleyball court and the playground equipment.
What
Hold on,
Yeah,
All
I-
things.
Sorry.
What was the number of one?
D&G 5 is number 1.
Number 5 is number 1, and number 6 is number 2.
Okay. D&D 6. Thanks, okay. April?
We have none, but I can't tell you exact quantities right now, but we will be supporting the fire fuel reduction things. We will be supporting Richard's tree study, and there's a few more we still have to discuss.
Okay, Lee?
I'm in the same boat, so we're looking at it on favoring the safety project and also the emergency setup system at the EOC. I'm favoring that also.
What number was EOC? What number was EOC?
That's the
40,
CW.
44.
44.
And what was your first priority?
Safety also.
Emergency operations center upgrade.
And also-
CW for favoring the safety and that.
Okay. Tom?
I'll look at first.
The number 1 is the safety thing that the lady claimed Marsala Circle.
Can you give
Again,
us
it's
numbers?
FF3 is 27 and a half feet. That's the scope of the project that's submitted, not all the way megawatts. I can't justify that in any way, shape, or form. And then FF1 for the tree plantings, that's number 2. And then the other project, you asked Sharon about the one that's project I put in that's citywide because it affects traffic on Johnson Canyon,
Yes.
which affects the whole flats and foothills area. One of the problems that when Jeff looked at where the lots are that are in the county and in the city, so any speed signs, radar speed signs on Johnson Canyon have to be within the city of Monterey. We can't put it unless you have permission from the county. But the main concern is like your flats area where they get up that head of steam headed towards Salinas Highway, they get that flat area to try and get them to slow down before they get to the turnoff of your flats. And then the other direction, coming from Salinas Highway, they hit that downhill area and it's 30 miles an hour by the time you get to the bottom of the hill, they're doing 50 or 55.
What's the number?
Citywide 45.
Citywide 45.
Is that your third priority for your neighborhood? Or?
Well, it's not a neighborhood priority, but it'll get the base. What limited base we have.
Okay.
Because it affects 2 neighborhoods significantly.
But still, it's generally in the direction that we were looking for the advantage work.
Right. Yeah. Basically, it helps try and slow down people before they get to the intersection.
I was just aware.
Yeah, aware. And Jeff has the, not the area plan, but showing which lots are in the city.
We're close where you are.
Yeah.
Dennis?
I feel like I'm in a different neighborhood. CW 47 because of the trees and making sure we have less fire fuel. And CW 44 for the ELC's got, I probably should support that. No, I think it's important that we have a functioning ELC.
Can you repeat that, Dennis? Your-
CW 47, that's it,
47,
green belts and
44,
trees,
47.
all combined.
In the OC? Was it-
Yeah, CW 44.
Well, Lou Harlan's already talked to Lou.
I like the trees in it.
Go ahead.
As much basis.
Oh, you ready, Harlan?
Yeah, 33.
Okay.
Strong support for fire fuel suppression, the tree study and command center, and a very strong no on CW 40, which is the sidewalk on the cemetery side of Pearl. Unnecessary and
All right, Dwayne.
Yes, for number one would be medium 6. Number 2 would be medium 1. Medium 3 would be number 3.
6 is number 1.
Yes, sir.
One is number 2, and third is PDM 3. It's one match. Sharon?
And I wrote it down in the wrong place. Okay. There hasn't been an opportunity. I want you to know that New Monterey 1 has 75% resident and owner support. New Monterey 2, Hawthorne-Bolio, we have half of the owners saying yes, half of the owners saying no. I've not gotten a response from a man back in Pennsylvania, so he would be the tiebreaker. We're evenly divided. We have yeses from 9 out of 11 property.
How do you explain the difference in ways?
I cannot explain it. I know that they are counting a yes from a property owner that I got a telephone call from, who's out of town, who said, I vote for it, absolutely yes. And they're counting him as a no. So I cannot reconcile the difference. I only know what I have actually received. So I can tell you the owners are divided, half and half. And we have 9 out of 11 properties with yeses from either the owners or the residents. So
You
that's.
just said half were against, and now you said 9 out of 11.
We have 11 properties, we have 8 property owners. The owners are split. Out of the 11 properties which there are people who own 2 properties in that block. Out of the 11 properties, I have yeses from 9 different residences,
And what
different
I'm
properties.
making a point out of it is we have 98 projects, and almost all of them have strong support, except this
Okay,
one.
I don't want to argue about it. There was a strong statement from the public. You've heard them. I'm trying to tell you, in trying to ascertain where the stance is within that block, those are the numbers. That's what I got, and that was from my telephone, my mail. Those were the responses that
I'm
I
not
received.
defensive about it, Sharon.
And I'm not being, I just want to finish the comments.
I just want to know about the feedback we're going to get on this project.
Yeah.
And getting defensive about it is not going to help things.
Okay, so, New Monterey 4, we have more than 70% support.
Just we're on priority.
I do have priorities. There hasn't been an opportunity to tell you guys these things. We work, we try to identify what the consensus is, and we're so fast to get to the end that there's no time to tell you. I'm trying to tell you the feedback. Okay, Prescott, 1740 sidewalk, there is support. David Spencer curbs. It happens that this was part of the traffic calming plan. This is not a traffic calming request. It is a safety enhancement request. I cannot seem to get responses from the 4 owners. I've heard from 1. I have sent out 3 letters. I've gone to their homes. I have knocked on the door. The property residents are all in favor of it, 100%. Every single property and those next to it. I would ask you to view it as a safety enhancement and not as a traffic calming. It is not for traffic calming. It is so people can pull out from Spencer and not get T-boned. So, that having been said, those are the New Monterey projects. Our priorities are as follows. New Monterey 4 is our #1 priority. We're doing half the money and we'll be doing the design. The second priority is New Monterey 2. New Monterey 2 is our second priority. New Monterey 9 is the third priority. People's property is being affected. Citywide 9 is the aquatic center, and that's our #4 priority. We're seeing that there actually is money available to do it now, and this is only New Monterey's share. New Monterey 5 is our 5th priority, and that's the Prescott 1740 sidewalk. And New Monterey 1 is our #6 priority. That's David and Lily widening. I will say our committee went on to say we favor citywide 1, the RV storage lot security cameras, citywide 5, which is the dog park amenities, and citywide 8, the bicycle repair stations.
Jamie?
Del Monte Beach. And we didn't make it on maybe we did it on one page. Anyway, statistical analysis is in, and the camera is far and away the #1 project. It's got 816 points out of 900 possible points. Just the number? No, so you're right. You're at the limit. Okay, but I'm not on the page. Del Monte Beach, number 4 is number 1. And then there's a tie between the top lot resurfacing, and I'm going to be doing in a second, and rec trail signage with maybe a slight lean to Del Monte Beach #6. So I could say Del Monte Beach #6 is number 2. We'll probably only fund it because we can. And then the next priority in the neighborhood was the top lot resurfacing. And so that is both Del Monte Beach 1 and Del Monte Beach 3. It's basically the same thing, and that's really a priority for the neighborhood. Given their brothers, the far and away the support is for Del Monte Beach #3. So that would be the number 3. Number 3 is number 3. If they can't get that, if the committee's not happy with that, they really, really want to get Del Monte Beach 1, #1 done, then they'll come back and ask for that equipment again.
Parks and Rec is saying no.
Yeah, Parks and Rec has some concerns. We've mitigated that concern by minimizing the amount that's being installed, so we're reducing that to address that impact. And that's the 1, 2, and 3 of it. Del Monte Beach the last, no support at all, is Del Monte Beach #8. So.
Is it fair to say Del Monte Beach 1 is number 4? Did I?
Yeah, I think it's
Well, you can have 3 and 4, and then your next one was Beachway Surfway, where you needed a 26K Del Monte Beach 7.
Yeah, that's true. So I just didn't know how to think about. So retaining wall is number 4, so we're going to go ahead and finish this list. So I gave you 1, 2, page. So technically, we can say that Del Monte Beach #3 is number 3, Del Monte Beach #1 is number 4, Del Monte Beach retaining wall, number 5 is number 5. Maybe 5 is 5. Number 5 is number 5. Number 6 is number 6. Sorry, number 7 is number 6. And number 8 is number 7.
I'm gonna need to change, the cost for definitely beat 7, I'm gonna need to change that cost. It's not what it
Yeah,
is.
so we'll change a couple of costs. So that would be great.
Okay.
Focusing on 1, 2, and 3.
Gene,
We did a survey and we got 103 responses. 58% were for our number 1, which was the Greenbelt fuel reduction, 50,000.
Wait. Monte Vista 1 is radar sign.
Monte Vista 11 was our number 1.
Okay.
Got it. Our number 2 is citywide 31, the conduit. Priority number 3 is Monte Vista 4.
So, Monte Vista 11, which moved to CW 47.
Our number 1 priority was Monte Vista 11 with the.
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
the survey was done before, we grouped them all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can almost eliminate that one from our priority.
Is that what you want us to do? Just, all right, so our number 1.
it's all separated, it's 1 on the sheet, but it'll be MV 11 on that sheet. That money goes to that.
And we still all have to go up there and vote for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't just leave it for another neighborhood to take the whole 280.
It'll be itemized per MV 1, will have the amount of money.
Right, so.
First one's MV 11, number 2 CW 31.
CW 31 is number 2. Number 3, MV 4.
Okay.
Number 4, MV 7. Number 5, MV 3. Number 6, we think has been removed, the El Dorado street surfacing sidewalk,
That's going to go to,
right? Okay, so the next one, which is number 6, is the CW 21. New number 7 is Mar Vista Drive, MV 1. Number 8 is MV 9. I guess I can stop.
Kurt?
So, downtown 9 is 1.
Just go over it.
DT9, okay.
Central Plaza,
So say it again.
downtown 9,
9.
and then downtown 10 is 2.
I'm going to make that A and B. Figure
Yeah,
out-
and so would be
Okay.
action B.
Figure out- okay.
So downtown 8,
MV downtown 10, you can figure out per one intersection. I'm going to split that A and B. That'll be A. Yeah, that'll be DTA will be figure out pro. Yeah.
Right. Yes, and then downtown 2, the beach shower. And then citywide 4, which is a window underlay fencing and signage repair. And then the downtown 6.
What was the last one?
Downtown 6.
And what was that priority? I'm sorry. Is that 6 priority?
Could you clarify something for me? The aquatic center is stuck in my head. As I recall, they didn't specify a city on it. It could be Monterey, it could be Seaside, it could be Marina.
All within the 85
And
yes.
I'm trying to understand how Monterey citizens could fit into their schedule in Marina if they want to go swim a few laps.
Well, now they're going to San Jose and above, they don't go to Marina.
Well,
According to this.
I'm talking about residents of Monterey, not the school district.
They actually have some acreage in Monterey which they would begin to study first.
You talking about the stuff on the Slings Highway that's in the clear zone of the airport
Well,
and ruled by the Light Use Commission as not to be used?
I don't know. It could be that they were traded for another parcel. I don't know. But Monterey is in the game because they do have some land in Monterey. They'd like to see what they can do.
Yeah, it's undeveloped, I think, is the problem.
So, yeah,
One thing that wasn't mentioned tonight, and that has to do with the surveillance camera policy. Jeff shared it with me, and in reading it over, it says, when in doubt, ask the IT department head. So I contacted Bonnie Goff, who is that head of the department, and she said that this policy was adopted by the city council, I believe, 2016. And their intention was that it addressed surveillance cameras around the jail and city properties, that it was never intended to be streets. And what she told me was the only way that they could do that is if the city council agendizes it and modifies the policy. It was never, ever intended to be used on the streets.
Going back to your rationale on whether a project is qualified or not, to be voted on, if it's not in the master plan, is this a project that can be voted on?
No.
Well, see, I would put to you, the city council is going to approve this list after we do. They have every opportunity to cross it off the list. They've crossed our projects off.
See, you're going into unknown territory now. You're saying, you're hoping if we set aside money that they'll change their policy, and what she's saying, if it isn't adopted policy, it's not a qualified
There
project.
is not a policy that we were able to find that says no. And so we're going forward.
No.
And so they can cross it off if they decided no at that time.
No.
Just open a can of worms.
It is not adopted policy now. It is not permitted now. And that's from the IT director, who this policy says makes all decisions about new surveillance cameras.
Well, I read this policy too, and I didn't read it as there is.
Well,
You're trying for these.
I'll try to get that concise. I got the agenda out. We go to staff member comments. Go around the room.
I didn't include the tree maintenance, green belt, but I've been putting half of our massive $3,352 base allocation on the trees reduction, fire reduction.
You said staff comments, you meant them? or-
No. Now we go to committee member comments.
Okay,
What's that? Oh, so I did hand out the base allocation. We'll bring in a copy. Yeah.
Jeff, what's our bottom line? What's our budget?
let's
What's
get
the budget?
Finance will report that on Monday night.
does
Finance.
anybody else need this?
So I did pull this out. Dennis.
Oh, no, just listen, Louis Brown.
Cassie, that's okay, we're right here.
Okay, thank you.
I want you to get everyone to stop talking so we can start.
Okay, let's calm down. We need to start closing up. We're already 2 minutes late to get out of here. Let's go to committee member comments. Richard.
Okay, I want to remind everybody that the Friends of the Library book sale starts tomorrow for the Friends at 3 o'clock to 5, and it's open to the public on Saturday and Sunday, so you can go stock up on your favorite books, they're bargains.
Cassie, name thing.
The pilots are here. Finish the comments.
Okay, I don't like getting mixed signals from the public, and I don't like overruling residents. And I want to bring this up in the procedures manual changes to come.
Here we have one conversation.
So, I'm saying that after we vote, I'd like to bring it up for a procedures manual change about how we discuss what consensus is and who determines consensus. Because what we have now is just coming back to us. We're getting nothing. I'm fielding yesterday a negative letter sent to the city council about us. This is, like I told you before, the worst year I have ever encountered, and I'm not elaborating on what these people are sending letters in about, but it's about all the changes we're making in NIP. They don't like. So understand, this is not a program that will last forever. It will come back and haunt you, because we're responsible for everything we do and say. And the public is not liking this year at all. Thank you.
Dave, yeah, I sort of concur with that. We're doing something that's very controversial. Even though the city wants this, it just could be bad on it. I have a question about CW5, Louis. When we talked about that a while back, I didn't remember what parts, that was one of the fountains that would be, some up next, but you would have the fountains that would be converted to have the water bottle filling and even water fountain in the garden. Because we do have a fountain in Deer Flats that's there.
Right.
It's plugged up right now.
Okay.
Is that the one?
Sure. The ones with fountains already, we're going to do the ones there. There's the easiest ones, yeah.
That's all.
No comment?
City Hall.
No comment other than verifying the time for voting night, because I know there was a change. I know, I got it 6, but I want to verify that it didn't get, I missed the meeting. so.
We haven't changed that, Melissa.
Voting night now.
What time does it start?
Voting night is at 6, so I want to schedule it for 6.
6.
So I remember.
All these items are confusing.
Should there be a separate ad like in the Weekly and the Herald with the time? That maybe the public might see that?
Nobody reads the Herald.
Well, for whatever.
It's set for 6 p.m. in the council chambers right now, and we'll notice it. And I could have Laura put it out on the city website again.
Council chambers.
Yeah, council chambers, yes. It is a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm not going to be here. I'm out of town on May 15th and extending our schedule into May for voting night. That's what the screams to me. So you'll get a chance to meet Marilyn Maxner, who some of you, if you've ever been involved in the League of Women Voters, she's former chair for the Monterey Municipal League of Women Voters. She's been former president of our association a couple times. So she's very knowledgeable, and she's spending a lot of time watching TV reruns of the meetings. So anyway, the other thing, I'd like to follow up on what Richard said about complaints. I was called as a witness for the civil grand jury last November, December, and spent almost 2.5 hours being grilled. Somebody made complaints about the NIP program from last year and the way the voting was held, and complaining that it wasn't a fair process. Having been through this process for like 30 years, I don't ever remember us being unfair to anybody, quite frankly. So I think there were some sour grapes complaints, and I just called yesterday to find out that there was supposed to be a grand jury report, which I testified on, swore to secrecy last November, December, was supposed to be published in April. And I called the grand jury office, so this report should be out, and if your name appears in it from last year, you're on the committee. I don't know if there'll be names or whatever it is, but anyway, I described the way the process has gone for years and years and years, and I told them that I consider it to be a fair process. So I was sworn to secrecy, but now that the report is out, I don't have a copy of it. So what Richard has said about the grand jury, somebody had sour grapes, maybe the project didn't get approved that they wanted, and so they made a complaint and started a whole bunch of heartburn for civil grand jury, and there certainly were a lot of better issues facing Monterey County than the NIP program in Monterey, which is one of a kind. And as far as I'm concerned, we've always been fair, and we've gone overboard to give people an opportunity to talk. So whoever this was, I think they were out of line that caused this whole civil grand jury in Monterey County, if you're familiar with that. And hopefully we'll get the report and we can circulate it around and see what the grand jury recommends or not recommends. They could say, don't do anything, or we recommend changing this and that and the other thing. So just be aware. Nobody's seen it, hasn't hit the news, but we should be getting a copy hopefully any day.
A pickleball person.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Let's see, watching NIP videos or the battle scene in Game of Thrones. I'm not sure.
Dwayne?
I did have one question. When will we see a spreadsheet that we can play with, so we can play numbers games for voting night?
Spreadsheet.
A list of projects with the dollars on it?
I'll be updating this.
Okay, and will that come out as an Excel spreadsheet, if that's the only way I don't forget? And I'll be happy to help you if you want me to do
The
that.
finance report, can we get that?
What's that?
The finance report.
Yeah, that's next week.
Well, we usually don't, we always send out a PDF, so it doesn't get changed, but, okay, I'll talk to you. Dwayne? We gotta get cleaned up, or we gotta be out here for the staff goes. Dwayne?
Being on the wireless subcommittee, when we're planning for the future with putting in fiber, the feds, through the FCC, who've written the new rules, have basically shoved 5G in every orifice that we've got. So, don't plan on hanging your hat on fiber a lot, because we're in now a dead heat race with China to set 5G up, and that's going to be oozing in every house that we've got in the city.
Our noses will be turning red
Yes,
from radiation.
all kinds of colors.
Sharon, we will glow.
Okay, I had hoped that we would be getting a finance report. I guess the subcommittee met and things are going to be trued up, which I assume we will be told. Curious to know how much money we're going in with, how much has been taken off our top before we can begin our process. Would have enjoyed having that, and also had hoped that maybe those projects that needed to be closed out would be closed out so that we would have an ending balance and be able to allocate that. So I don't know if that's possible.
They won't, I can't close them out between now and
I mean, that could be a significant amount, I don't know. But we usually have that to work with when we allocate. So I know we didn't get it in December when we hoped we'd have it. Anyway, I think we've been struggling, we as a committee. I'm glad that we're still getting along, and trust that our voting night is going to go smoothly and well. Having said that, I really appreciate the effort that Jeff is making, that Alyssa is making. Louis is right in there pitching. I mean, a great deal of effort, truly, a great deal of effort. And it is appreciated. We can't do our job without it.
With the amount of help you guys have to work with, slim and none, thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
I think I did on that. I think also, for people that just come and go for a few minutes at a meeting, they may not see that contention and disagreement are considered by the people at this meeting. And so, and in the end, everybody sitting around here is looking for consensus in every project that puts forward. And so that may be opaque to the folks in the public, but hopefully that comes out. But what I am concerned with, if there's more than that, if there's complaints about process or other things where we're trying to meet people's needs and we're not meeting them, and maybe we can make changes, I hope we can get that out and get that considered. But I think overall, that contention is a part of what's going on, and it's addressed.
Is that graduate record when it came out?
I'll get it to Jeff.
It's for public record?
It's a public record, oh yeah.
Why don't we get something, we can get it, look at it, see what the story is?
I don't think
It's out. It's out.
It's supposed to be out last
He said it was out in April.
Yeah, it's supposed to be out here. And actually, the city will have to do a formal response.
Oh, yeah, we will. Gene?
I just should have done it another time, but I'm submitting 25 signatures for number 1, CW 31-9, signatures for number 8, which was Monterey Vista 9. I think we've had problems this year. I wonder if the rearrangement of the schedule was unflattering to our goal of staying organized, and we've had to make a lot of changes, which have thrown us, and you can imagine what the community feels like. I mean, I thought we were going to start with citywide at 5:30 today, so even I'm totally confused. So I think we need a way to not be so confused and maybe not shorten it. Maybe that did not work.
May I say, I believe that had we not extended it, had we not added the blank weeks in between, we could not have compensated for the city attorneys taking 2 hours of our meeting.
Yes.
So it's only because we extended the schedule that we had a slot for it.
Kurt?
Okay, just to remind the committee members that the city attorney helped me write a letter about blocking, not being able to vote. And also
Disqualification.
Yeah, disqualification. Also included in that letter, she was questioning about the voting. We expect a response back next week.
Next week.
Before voting night. So be prepared.
From 11, so it's
Luz?
I have something totally unrelated. Last meeting, I think I left my papers in the area.
We're looking for it. We've been looking for it.
That was what I was going to ask for.
With that, I'm going to close the meeting now. We got a... Thank you, Luz. We've been looking for you.